everyone, and welcome to another day of GameSpot live streams from Los Angeles. We had Summer Game Fest on Friday, and it is the Play Days event with a bunch of hands-on stuff, people getting to play the latest upcoming games we're very excited about. But also, we've got our own little studio, and we're bringing incredible guests to us for another day of programming. We are kicking off with Thank Goodness You're Here, but make sure you stay tuned throughout the day. We've got Assassin's Creed Shadows, we've got Star Wars Outlaws.
Blumhouse is going to be here.
Blumhouse with the 10 or so games they announced on Friday.
Assassin's Creed.
And plenty more. But like I said, we're kicking off with Thank Goodness You're Here. And Nick, thank goodness you're here.
Oh,
goodness.
Thank you. You're waiting all weekend to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I didn't know this was the kickoff. Also, you said incredible guest, but I wasn't nervous until you said both those things. I was like, this is how we're starting.
No. So, Nick, you're kind of from the Panic side of things.
Yep.
Cole Supper is making Thank Goodness You're Here. What is your role on the game?
So yeah, I'm the head of publishing, director of publishing, one of those types. So kind of help oversee the game publishing side of this weird great company that's been around for 25 years, making like Mac Playdate, little cranky handheld, which was one on your set, but I feel like it would fit in aesthetically and appropriately.
That's a misstep on our behalf.
Frankly, very unprofessional. But
I'm sorry. Thanks everyone for watching.
But yeah, sort of helping find and bring cool games for us to publish and kind of incubate them, collaborate with the devs, make sure devs are happy and healthy, keep things on time and on budget reasonably, and yeah, just try to be a cool indie publisher.
So when it came to Thank Goodness You're Here,
yes.
what was the pitch there? Because you're not British.
I'm not British. No, by the way, you have me at an advantage in that you're both British.
Yeah, we're both British.
Yeah,
also, I'm not. This is the only time I'm like, have my panic hat on this weekend. And also, what was the third thing I said? There was another thing you have me at an advantage. Oh, I said I'm the publisher and I didn't make the game.
Yeah.
Big asterisk on all that.
Oh, no, totally.
And the suit, clearly, look at the suit. But yeah, so so Cole Supper, maybe not as Cole Supper, but James and Will made a game called The Good Time Garden that was free on Steam in 2019, and it's like maybe 20 minutes long, but it's like just this really bizarre, upsetting, very I can't even think of the right
bizarre,
word. Very
upsetting.
Yeah.
All the best games are.
And all good adjectives. And they had pitched us Thank Goodness You're Here, very, very great, actually compelling, good pitch deck that is an example of like this is how to pitch a game. But mostly when I this other smaller free thing, then I was like, oh, I want to board whatever you want to make. You want to make a full game? Like, let's do it. Because that little 20-minute thing was like phenomenal. Yeah. And yeah, they came to us. It was a cold call pitch, of which we get many, but rarely I think the thing that sort of end up working out. And then we spoke to James and Will, and they were lovely, and I could like, oh, I see how you horrible boys made this game, and made the previous game, and they're making this new one, and yeah, that was, I should know, but I don't know, maybe 4 years ago or so. It's been a bit, and yeah, we are here.
We've got the demo up.
We've got the demo up. Is demo out?
Demo is out, yes.
We got it from Steam,
Yeah.
so if not,
it'll be
you
next
can play
fest.
it.
Yep.
But yeah, set in a northern town. I'm from Newcastle, so even more north, kind of like the Yorkshire-y.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah.
We're very severe about that. We have very north.
This is helpful.
Yeah. Oh no. So you'll take notes on how to be
Yes,
British.
thank you. This is education for me primarily.
But I mean, and that's the thing. Like from the publisher side, you are not British.
No.
How many of the jokes in here go over your head?
I guess I don't know. It's still funny, and the voice acting is great.
Yes.
And even the sort of intro question of like, do you speak I forget the word they use, but it's like, do you want to turn on subtitles or not, basically. And we encourage the subtitles. But so probably a lot, but I think you don't have to be British to appreciate it. There's probably an extra layer that I don't know. Do you feel like ribbed by it?
I feel catered to.
This is very British humor. Like I just punched a water dispenser that dealt lead water and jumped out of a 10-story building.
Like there was something even just about Big Ron's Big Pies.
Yeah.
And then I saw they were doing a TikTok the other day with some of the character bios, and it was like Big Ron, things that he likes, like big women, big pies. It's just like,
Thank you, M. Humble, whose voice is in the game and who is making some of the TikToks as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the voice cast too. So I was, John Blythe, a good friend of ours, used to work with him, is in it, which we didn't realize. But also Matt Berry. How did that all?
I think that was just kind of like this. I'm trying to remember, kind of like a fantasy stretch goal, of which I think Panic, especially, like we are a publisher who wants to go way out of our way and explore ridiculous. Like what is on the stretch goal list? Like the basic stuff we need to do to publish a game, but then what are the things we'd really feel mutually excited and proud about going out of our way for? And that was one. Oh yeah, it never hurts to ask, I think, and like we're pretty good at asking that kind of thing.
Got a phrase in the north.
Yeah.
Shy Bear's getting out.
Oh wow, yeah. You both.
That's because I say it.
Okay, good. And it just kind of worked out. It's like, I guess we're in LA, but I suppose this is just how it works. Is you reach out and you go through an agent and you set it up, and it was like, oh yeah, actually, we can do this. And I sadly was not in the VO session, but we have some funny, good outtakes.
I was gonna say he is probably at this point the most iconic British
voice
that's true? Right now.
Voice,
voice work. I mean, you immediately. I mean, actually, he's in here, I think.
Right there.
He's our Chris Pratt.
Just the man I need.
Yeah, exactly.
And so once we got him too, I think James and Will were like, wait, we actually got him. We need to like write a few more lines for this character. And also his voice was in the debut character for the trailer or for the game, but we didn't actually like acknowledge it or announce it. Or some people just they're like, is that Matt Berry? And we were like,
who's to say?
Who's to say?
So now we have formally announced it. We have also announced the game's release date, by the way, coming August 1st.
And thank you for that, because it's 2 days before my birthday.
Yeah.
And it's on Yorkshire Day.
Yes, I saw that earlier.
Yeah, Yorkshire Day.
Happy birthday for that. Yeah, we'll send you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Or on my wish list. No. So, I mean, what is the elevator pitch?
So you're like a traveling salesman, and you're in Barnsworth, which, the devs grew up in Barnsley, so maybe there's some inspiration there. And you basically are sort of waiting in to talk to the mayor, and you're sort of just waiting in the office, and in the meantime you can go out and explore the town, and everyone starts looping you into these sort of surreal tasks and asking for your help and saying, oh goodness, you're here, help me with such and such. Like, I have my arm stuck in the grate, I need some lubrication to get me out. And so, you're sort of just like walking by these little vignettes and starting to like understand the strangeness of this town, and things only get stranger and the tasks only get stranger. It's also got this really nice feel, I think, of sort of, it's like sending you and looping you back in a pretty organic way through the environment a few times, and there's lots of sort of like slow burn jokes where you pass the same thing a few times, and each time it gets a little weirder or a little sort of building up to a clear climax, but you're not sure what it's supposed to be. So even kind of like the sort of backtracking, if you will, in the game, I think is like done really nicely.
There's a lot of details as well. Like,
yeah.
I just noticed that milk snatcher joke, which is pretty funny.
Dr. Bum Bum, never forget.
Yeah.
And even the little ants crawling and everything, it's like, these are the kind of things you always hear where it's like the last 5% of the game. That's where all polish comes in, and it's true here. Like, I hadn't played this sort of finished final game. I probably hadn't played it in the last month or so until the plane on the way down. I was sort of refreshing myself for this, and I was like, oh yeah, there's so many little nice details that come in right at the end that make this feel like really fun, silly place.
I like that they just call it a slap former.
That, I will say, was mine.
Was that you?
I'm very proud of that.
Very good.
Thank you.
Nice.
It felt right. It was like, well, it's kind of a platformer, but the platforming's not like skillful. It's just sort of a means to an end. But you do slap things a lot.
Kojima's got his Strands game.
Yeah. This is the new Strand genre, really. This is the beginning of all the platformers. Are there others? I don't know.
I don't think there's a single other platformer, unless you count, I guess, God Hand, in which there's a lot of slapping.
I was waiting in line here last night for some Korean barbecue for dinner, and on the TV there was apparently some sort of maybe professional world slapping championship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is the first time
Those
I've seen
are
this.
rough.
I couldn't even tell what the goal was like to not sort of fall down when someone slaps you, but this is, I'd encourage everyone to Google this because
the slap championships. Right, Tam, what are you?
I'm trying to figure out where to go.
You're Rodney.
You have to go. I think the shop is not the pie shop. The Meg's isn't open, maybe. And then at some point when you come back over here, the pub's open. But I think you have to go slap the people who are trying to get into the Meg's.
Okay.
Over on the left.
Let me find Meg's. Cool.
God.
Yeah, this every interaction is a slap, which is a little British, I think.
Well, we used to have a thing. Oh, look
There
at
we go.
We used to have a thing called You've Been Tangoed.
You've been tangled, yeah.
Wow.
In the UK, where on the playground there were adverts and they would come up and like slap you.
There was a
that being tangoed?
The tango is, I don't know if I have it here, but it's like a Fanta-like
Orange
drink.
But it is.
And the advert was
Fanta, kind of.
a
Nuclear.
giant orange, the fruit, and he'd like run up behind people, tap them on the shoulder, run round, and when they turned back around, he'd like slap them on both ears, both sides of the heads.
Yeah, okay, that's good. And that's being tangoed.
That
Yeah.
was being
Yeah,
tangoed.
that's
But
good.
then it got used to if you had like fake tan, you'd be say, oh, you've been tangoed.
It got banned because it kept bursting people's eardrums. Yeah.
I'm sure James and Will are like, oh, I know exactly what that is. I wonder if they have a reference in there.
Oh, no, I'll message them and be like, yo,
Okay, yes, okay.
is there a tango
Please
tweet
do.
in this? Right, pop over
There
to the
might-
pub.
Yeah, off to the pub now. I've had a chat to these little lads and ladies.
I love there's one of them where it's like, I really thought the character bios were really funny, and then one of them was like, not allowed in the Rail Museum anymore. RSPB coded, has never seen a bird. Like,
The pigeon's very accurate.
well, we got Ron's Ale, Oaky Brew, classic pint of beer,
That's good.
licensed to serve minors, Larry the Landlord.
I remember too, we like had conversations early on. It's like, oh yeah, your previous game was like pretty perverse and weird, and like this one, it's not that weird or upsetting, or like the humor's not like vulgar past a certain point. Like, you know, maybe if we want to, you know, like if you make like, you know, if you make an M-rated game, it's like, well, maybe that's shrinking your audience a little bit. It's like, oh, are there ways you sort of keep it on the line where it's like, it's, you know, it's appropriate for
was gonna
your rating.
say-
But then at some point, it just sort of like way crossed the Rubicon or whatever it is, and it's like now it's just like
What rating is it?
it isn't.
It's M?
I love that.
I'm second guessing myself now. But
No. But I mean, yeah, I mean, some of the jokes, it's like,
I'm in the beer. I
me
am
this
the beer.
weekend, am I right? No, that's the thing, I think the thing, I mentioned the joke about that character earlier. I was like, I can't believe you had that joke. And as someone who kind of grew up in the north of England, it's like very much,
Nice wet pint
what's the jokes you make? That's the kind of, that's the kind
Every
of thing.
morning I wake up,
Been haunted by a bottle of beer.
I wake up, can lager, then I do a big
and I
wee.
get out of bed
Yeah.
and go downstairs.
Same,
for
to be
my
honest.
morning pint.
yeah, I love there's some sort of like especially surreal segments like this in the game.
Yeah.
And they kind of escalate. There's one that involves a lot of meat that's pretty upsetting later.
My morning pint.
It's great because the sort of like baseline of the game is pretty surreal,
Yeah.
and then I think it sort of escalates into these like borderline dream sequences that are like, okay, this is really, I want these boys to go as
Yeah.
strange as they can.
Yeah.
Let the Brits run wild.
Oh, what's he like?
I mean, for me, it was like,
Come on, then.
when I saw this for the first time at PAX last year, we came
Yeah.
to the Panic booth, and it was great. Honestly,
It was a great booth.
lovely carpet.
Oh, really?
Really
So,
lovely
I
carpet.
sat on the floor for a good while.
But no, and I went hands-on with this one, and I was like, oh, this is like Shooting Stars. And I'm not sure it's a show that you've ever seen, but it is surrealist British comedy where they will just have,
Back down there.
like the random jokes, the incredibly northern way of looking at things. It's Bob Mortimer and Vic Reeves.
Yeah.
Bob
Okay,
Mortimer,
okay.
if you've ever seen the infamous season of Taskmaster that he's on.
Okay.
Yeah, you're getting a pint there.
Yeah.
We also, in that PAX booth, made sure to, you know, add some details. Like, I don't know if you opened the garbage can that was in the booth and had some plush rats in there.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
a bin of
Yeah,
rats.
yeah, which is quite a few in the game.
There was
Yeah.
a bin right here earlier. Is it in this bag? No, it's in the other bag.
Mother Meg,
Mother Meg's
buttery
buttery
goods.
Very
goods.
good. Buttery nubs is that part of the intro of the game.
Yeah.
10 bob.
10 bob.
How much is
Scotch
bob?
egg, 10 bob.
I was wondering, you could tell me this, because
Well,
it comes up a few times later in the game.
I think you can use it as like pounds, but also like,
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's pounds, but
Oh, Cressani.
yeah, I think it's also 10p.
Yeah,
Like
like
if
10
it's-
bob.
Help yourself to out front back though.
P is pounds.
Yes.
Pence.
Yeah, pence.
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 They're also, one joke spoiler, they make reference to say 3 pence or threepence later. Is that a real thing? Or
We
is
used to
that-
have penny threepence, yeah?
Yeah.
This is before our time.
Yeah.
I've just heard of it from
Got
like
it.
my parents. Wild milk near an egg.
Also fine.
Crumbs. Balmy berries, extra large, buttery knobs.
I am dying to know more about the
Milk.
milk snatcher.
Oh, you found
Hey,
me.
right.
There he is.
I'm the
Oh,
I'm
wow.
the fridge stove.
and I'm awfully frigid.
Awfully frigid.
Frigid.
Right, Jess.
I haven't even
I'm
seen
actually
that
the town
stove.
vole, if you
Amazing.
catch my meaning.
Town Vol.
Vol, if you catch my meaning. Alright, cool.
And then go back up.
Yeah, no.
This was also, as you can imagine, a pretty fun game to go through localization.
Oh my, yeah, so we're going to ask you about that. Tam was kind of going through the options. Here we go. So we've got dialect. What's that? The dialect option.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Go turn
I
it
don't
back
actually
on.
know.
Should I turn it back on?
Yeah.
Should I turn it on?
Keep
Oh, okay. Alright.
Oh my God.
Faff, keep
Faff.
going. Incredible.
I mean, that's like a whole other. I was even just talking about basically sort of the translated
Oh, yeah,
script
no.
in different
Fair play.
languages, but then there's the whole like meta, deeper.
The meta
English
language.
layer.
I wonder if it just changes all the subtitles. I'm sliding around, I'm buttered up, and I'm sliding around. A classic British activity.
And yeah, it was great because a lot of these little like cutscenes, James and Will would just send us everything. So like, oh, here's a new
Here's a new
cutscenes, and especially out of context, they're like amazing. You're like, I don't know what's going to lead to this situation, but very sad. I love her for rubbing some on himself. It's good.
Is he trying to get out of the
He
great?
used to get, he used to be lubricated.
Right, yo, chaps.
Because
Tuggaroo.
he went after the 2 pence.
Yes.
Or no,
The tuppence?
what does he say he thinks it is? A higher amount of money. And then turns out it is.
I mean, I remember as a kid, there was a £5 coin, but I think it had Charles's face on it for some
Yes.
reason. I don't even. There it is. It was nary a tuppence.
Twas a
Threepence.
threepence.
Oh my god. Yeah, we had a £5 coin with Charles's face on it.
Too.
Wishing well,
And then
Godspeed, young Threepence.
wishing well and then put it back down. So good. Sorry.
Oh no, it was. We never knew how to
In
spell
for a
it.
penny,
I think I still
in
have it.
for a pound.
All right, 9 a.m. So
So you're
that's
sort of
someone
waiting for the time to pass till you have your meeting.
Yeah.
at the pub pre-9.
Slid around.
True
on some
Brexit
bar.
geezer.
Yeah. Day in the life of a true Brexit geezer.
All right.
There we have it.
Oh, we did
There you
it.
go.
Well, Nick,
Completed
thank you
it.
so much for coming down.
Sure. I'm like, I wish there was more to show you right now, but very soon.
I know.
August
Don't
1st.
worry, I'll be.
Yeah.
Maybe
be in
sooner
your
for you.
inbox.
Well,
Hey.
Fingers crossed.
no, thanks for your excitement, and I'm glad that this feels
Authentic.
authentic and
Yeah.
supportive. Yeah.
And it's available to wishlist now on Steam. So if you like what you saw, or if you're British, in which case you're legally obligated to wishlist
Sure.
this
Yep.
on Steam. So we
What
can
is
get
this last option? Can you explain that to me?
What does it say?
Sympathy?
Something. Or exit?
Yeah, exit is the
Yeah,
quit,
but I don't know. I'm from
No, okay.
Newcastle. We don't use.
okay.
Sci-fi. I don't know.
But you're also here showing off a Ranger, which we're going to
Sure.
go
Yes.
see tomorrow.
Thank you,
So
yes.
we'll come
Sure.
chat about
Yeah,
that.
very
Not
excited.
bank related, but yeah, my little game studio publishing.
Yeah. Very, very excited to see that. It looks very cool.
Thanks.
Showed up last. Was it the Nintendo?
It was
Yep, in the direct.
Yeah,
months ago,
direct.
and
Yeah.
We also, on the Panic front, in the Latin American Game Showcase, we showed a new trailer some new gameplay from Arco and Despelote as well, which I'm very excited about too, which
Awesome.
are coming on the heels of this as well. So
A lot of good things coming from Panic.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Cool.
all right. Nick, thank you so much
Thanks for
again.
having us.
Make sure you stay tuned. Next up, who we got?
Star Wars.
Star
Wars
Wars
Outlaws.
Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Games.
The Keeleys.
The Gaming Summer. The Keeleys, Key 3. I'm Lucy James, joined by Timur Hussein.
What up?
And Julian Garrity, who's creative director on Star Wars Outlaws. Welcome in. Now, we chatted to you. It was San Diego Comic-Con last year.
Oh, yeah.
About Star Wars Outlaws.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously almost a year ago now. A lot has probably changed with the game.
About 7 years have gone past.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel that. I feel that. What's kind of changed? What's the biggest things that happened to the game and development since that time that you can talk about today?
I think it's, I mean, this is a little bit behind the scenes because my head's still in development mode and not necessarily in talking points about the game. But if you want a sneak peek, it's a huge amount of work to finalize things. So we came to the end of production. Now it's closing. And closing just means fixing bugs, like burning down the list of all of the bugs that exist, plus sneaking one or two new tasks in at the last minute, new things that can push the quality just a little bit more. And, you know, we've got 2 months, I think. August 30th is the launch, so it's really hardcore pushing for the best quality that we can now. So the team is delighted that I'm away from the floor. The producer was saying to me today, don't worry, stay in California a bit.
Get off Jira.
Yes, just enjoy yourself. Go to Disney World. It was very clear that they don't want me back in the office. But
if you went to Disney World, you might go to...
I'm doing research.
Oh, wait a minute.
Doing research.
Oh, wait a minute.
Expense this.
We need to change the graphics on everything.
Exactly, there it is.
That's the risk. Better mic?
Yeah, better mic.
Better mic.
So last time we saw you, it was like fairly fresh out there, which naturally means like as a team you're nervous because you're putting Star Wars out into a Star Wars thing out in the world, and if you're anyone involved in doing that, it's naturally nervous. In the time since, you know, the game's been around and people have seen a little more of it, how has things changed internally? Do you feel a little more settled and confident now that you've seen the response to it in various ways?
It's tricky. It's going to sound strange, I think, but... Can we hold this moment? Is that okay? I'm so sorry. No problem. I'll start
No worries.
I know.
Technical issues.
We're having technical issues, please.
Classic
hold
E3
everyone.
experience.
So these are the bugs I was talking about.
Yeah, you brought them here. Thank you.
Fine, you brought your Star Wars bugs with you.
Does this one work?
Is that better?
All good?
Checking.
You good?
There we go. Right,
Okay.
Yeah, so.
So it's going to sound strange, but even last year, around this time, I still call it E3. Forgive me for that, but around this time, we knew we had something really special. We really worked very hard on the reveal, on everything that we were showing. We were so happy with the experience that we were putting forward, the characters that we'd created, the whole promise of a scoundrel adventure within an open world Star Wars. So, in a way, and this is very much living in yourself, but if you're super confident and you love what you've done, it's more of like this privilege of just showing it to the audience. So it was just a burst of pride and showing those assets. So and it had a great response. So we were genuinely thrilled. I mean, there are pictures of the studio watching the Ubisoft Forward event last year, and the dev team going bananas, and it's just such an injection of energy and positivity. So, big fan of those moments.
That's awesome. In terms of like, it must be really interesting from your perspective, because Star Wars right now, it seems to be going in so many different directions. You know, they have the classic lightsaber stuff, and then you got Andor and various other flavors to it. What's it like making a game, and how do you, when you're approaching the game, trying to make something that you know will stand the test of time and not be like swayed by a change in the taste around Star Wars, you know what I mean?
I do. It's a tricky one because as creators, and again, I'm counting the whole team, the core team, when we started working on this, we went back to what Star Wars meant to us.
Right.
So it's a little bit selfish, and it's hundreds of people work on this game, but this is a little bit selfish in the sense that we were true to this vision of what can we do, which is building on the core strengths of the team, open world, the scoundrel fancy, the outlaw fancy, player fancy, or archetype for Star Wars within the classic trilogy of Star Wars.
Right.
And once you put those three things together, that's what you have to be true to. And that's the creative vision from day one, where, okay, that's what we're going for. That's what we're trying to do. And to be honest, it's such a childhood dream come true to work within that original trilogy. So
I guess
very selfish.
Now that I think about it, it was a bit of a stupid question because, like,
it's not a stupid question.
The way I
It's a
see it
great
now is like,
question.
it's like, now that I think about it, there's a lot of flavors of Star Wars, and people do have different opinions on everything that happened. But the original trilogy is kind of cemented. No one really is currently like, there's no one out there that's going to be like, no, I don't like the original trilogy. I like, Andor only, which is weird.
I think that's a certain generation as well.
You reckon?
Yeah.
So you're saying I'm old? Okay.
Yeah, we kind of share that same, you're much younger than me, but I do think that the original trilogy is such a cultural milestone for a whole generations. I think that just being able to work in that playground is a huge, huge privilege. So we stay true to that. We stay true to the gameplay vision. We stay true to the strengths of the team. We push ourselves in a few areas, select areas where we want to improve as a team. And I think that's the contract, if you will.
When it comes to, you have so much from Lucasfilm to work with. You have the annals of Star Wars history to dig into. And I'm sure you've had incredible, collaboration with the team. What's the line for you when you're putting in things from the original movies to adding your own things? How many references and Easter eggs and things are kind of too much? Because do you want it to be, some instances, to be more of like a wink and a nod, or a nod? Nod? A nudge?
Nudge or nod, or in between the two.
Coming up with.
New Star Wars word. Just
We're workshopping it.
And maybe we'll take it back to the drawing board. But how much is too much, and how much is kind of just enough? And because obviously you want to leave your own footprint and imprint on Star Wars.
You think you know Star Wars until the day you work on Star Wars, and then you realize, okay.
Oh, there must be the lore masters.
There are a few people over there that know absolutely everything. And I think one of the principles is not to make the galaxy feel too small. Right. So you don't want to, do, got to catch them all of the iconic characters. But through the lens of the type of experience and the era that you're in, of course it makes sense for Jabba the Hutt to be in the game. Of course it makes sense for Kira to be in the game. In terms of other scoundrels, maybe Lando. There are plenty of characters that make sense and that don't make the galaxy feel too small. But the real pleasure at the end of the day is coming up with your own stuff. And there's a wealth of knowledge shared by Lucasfilm Games with the team that allow us to craft new characters, but also a blaster, a starship, a spaceship, creatures, Nix. All of these things were done by the team in collaboration with them, and are huge, huge milestones for the team. So super, super creatively fulfilling as well.
I thought you were going to say, you think you know Star Wars, then you see Darth Vader hitting the gritty in Fortnite and you don't know anything. I want to go back to what you said previously with, the original trilogy being a cultural touchstone for so many people across the ages. Obviously that means that you have a wide spectrum of people who are now potentially looking at Outlaws as a way to experience more Star Wars, whether they play games or not. What are you doing? And obviously the genre that you're working within is often overwhelming in a lot of ways, especially to people who have little to no kind of interaction with video games. So what are you doing in the game to make sure that the people who aren't super familiar with games can still have a enjoyable, valuable Star Wars experience?
It's a great question, and very early on, we all agreed that no matter who you are, no matter your level of skill, there should be enough accessibility options to allow you to not only play and enjoy, but also to finish the game.
Right.
So we had really good accessibility options on Division 2.
Yes.
And internally, I think the Watch Dogs Legion team did an amazing job at reducing the difficulty of puzzles, reducing the difficulty of combat encounters, and also taking inspiration from the Sony first-party games with high contrast mode and things that are very, very, very helpful for accessibility reasons. Taking all of those and creating just a long list of things that really can help everybody get the most out of the experience.
Okay, cool.
I was going to say, in terms of, I guess, kind of the flip reverse of that question is, what about people who aren't as into Star Wars? You know, obviously the title kind of hinges. It's a Star Wars adventure, and it's the scoundrel fantasy.
It's on the box.
It's right there.
I think, in general, there has to be a certain affinity with science fiction, with the fancy of being a smuggler, having a spaceship, a speeder, being an outlaw. There has to be a little bit of an affinity for that. Even if you disassociate it with Star Wars, there's still a really good play of fancy there that you can get a lot out of. But if science fiction is not your thing, it may be a little tricky.
In terms of like that feeling of space, you know, being out there and making it feel vast, while also keeping things on track. You know, one of the things about Star Wars is like there's often the stakes are very, very, very high. Almost always in the original, it's like you got to sort this Darth Vader guy out as ASAP. You can't really go on little like side missions and stuff. How do you balance making sure that that sense of like impending a necessary thing is about to happen and you need to be there to resolve it? Is still working with the kind of core tenets of a open world experience in the scoundrel fantasy?
It's a great question, and it works on many levels. I think the first thing is that we very early on decided that this was going to be more relatable, more personal. And making it more personal means that the stakes, that they're your character, that are being threatened, that is under pressure. And that works even in an open world situation where you're kind of trying to stay under the radar, or you're building your relationship with different criminal syndicates. But the more linear narrative, the Golden Path adventure, it's all this story about somebody who finds themselves caught up in a situation that's much, much bigger than they are, with galactic stakes. So the open world, the systemic gameplay, the reputation system, the open world, living world events, that's the more personal thing. And then the linear narrative, or more linear narrative, those are the biggest stakes. So we tried to craft something that worked on both of those levels.
And how much impact does some systems, like you mentioned reputation there, how much impact is that going to have on the overall gameplay in the world? So
a huge amount, because your reputation with each one of the criminal syndicates allows you access into their strongholds, allows you access to their vendors, their equipment, allows you access to exclusive vanity and gear that has gameplay effects. So you're going to want to push your reputation to excellent with all of the factions at least once to unlock those things. If your reputation gets terrible, they're going to send assassins after you. And the thing is that the decisions, the dilemmas that we're putting you through to influence your reputation, then going to be mutually exclusive. So you won't be able to be excellent reputation with the pikes and the huts at the same time. So it's a question of you balancing and spinning those plates in a way that makes sense for your experience. And it becomes a very personal story as well.
I want to ask about the main character of the game, which somehow we haven't talked about yet. How do you approach creating a character in a universe where it feels like every character that could exist, every story that could happen with this kind of archetype has almost to some degree happened? How do you create a character that fits in between one of those without feeling like, oh, this is a piece of this character, a piece of this character, a piece of this character?
I think there are always more stories to tell. There are always more characters to discover, to interact with, more character arcs to explore as well. I think the magical thing about Kay is that she isn't perfect. She isn't the coolest guy in the galaxy like Han Solo. She's somebody who isn't perfect, isn't particularly an outlaw when we discover her. She's a street thief who finds herself catapulted into these different adventures. Have you ever seen the Scorsese film After Hours?
I think I have, yeah.
So you haven't?
No.
It's really, really good.
On my list.
And it's basically a guy who finds himself over one night in New York
Yes.
City
Yeah.
getting into worse and worse situations and just surviving, like almost recklessly heading into those things. And that is really kind of the story of Kay. It's somebody who's almost faking it until she makes it. So it's not this isn't a perfect outlaw. This is somebody who becomes somebody who's feared and respected by the syndicates, but doesn't start off like that at all. And I think even that, it's kind of interesting to tell.
Yeah.
I know we're coming up on time, and we're recording this. If you're watching the VOD, we're recording this the day before the Ubisoft Forward. We caught a new trailer at Summer Game Fest.
Yes.
What can you tease that we'll see from Outlaws tomorrow at Ubi Forward? That's within.
That won't get a knife thrown from that corner of the room at us.
To be honest, I don't know what I can talk about or not, so I'm just going to talk about it.
There will be Star Wars.
There'll be some Star
Some
Wars.
Outlaws.
Yeah.
maybe.
Some
Couple of Outlaws.
Star Outlaws, Wars. No, we're going to come with a few things. We have a playable demo with 3 different experiences, very varied experiences. It's about an hour's worth of gameplay. There's a lot of different content. We're super, super excited about showing it to everyone.
Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the game comes out August 30th.
That's right.
Exciting. Very excited to see more of it and play it, yeah. Thank you for having us.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Make sure you stay tuned. We've got lots coming up today. We've got Assassin's Creed Shadows, Marvel Rivals. What else have we got?
Blumhouse is going to be here.
So don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of Summer Game Fest / Playdays / Key 3, whatever it is we're calling the Summer Gaming Events. We're here in Los Angeles. I'm Lucy, joined by Tam, and we've got Danny and Thad to talk about Marvel Rivals. Welcome both.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I mean, how is your show going so far?
Wow, it's been very busy, and we are excited and full of energy to continue making this game the best.
So for those who are not aware, can you give us the overview of Marvel Rivals?
Yeah, 6v6 team-based hero shooter. As Danny likes to say, we put the hero in hero shooter.
I was going to say, you are talking to the right people here, because
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are
that's
the
a-
big Overwatch people. So when you
6v6
say
hero, like-
6v6 hero shooter, it's like,
We know. It
brains
feels like
lit up.
yeah, it feels like Marvel Rivals came out of nowhere. Like usually we have like teasers and stuff like that. It kind of just appeared, and we're like, oh, this is a fully formed Marvel game here. When did the process kind of begin, and what were kind of like the seeds that led to this game?
So at Marvel Games, we always wanted to do a team-based PvP shooter, and we have been looking for developers to collaborate. And luckily, we came across NetEase, who share our same passion to make this come true. And we got talking, and the first time we dropped the debut trailer, and this is where we put a stamp on it and say, we are coming. This is our Marvel's first team-based PvP superhero shooter.
What about from your side, Thad? What was it like to kind of get that call and be like, or have that conversation, be like, oh, we might be doing a Marvel game?
Oh, super exciting! When I first heard about it, my brain lit up with all the possibilities. And I think the idea of playing as your favorite superhero is so appealing. And I grew up with Marvel comics, as many of us did, and so I have a deep attachment to many of the heroes. And to see these realized in this game in the third-person perspective is just phenomenally fun for me. I love playing as Doctor Strange, for example.
I guess you said like that you grew up and there's like so many characters, your favorite characters. What's the process of picking it from both perspectives? What characters are going to be in here? Because I assume Marvel has ideas, NetEase has ideas, and there's so many of them. What comes first, like the hero or the gameplay?
So definitely the roster come first. We lock everyone in a room, both Marvel and NetEase. We put on a big giant whiteboard, and we look across over 9,000 Marvel characters and say, which one is the greatest hit? So about 70% of our roster is the heroes that most people know and love, and we throw in some curveball, and then some deep cut as well, just to make it exciting. And from both a hero and villain perspective, so you can be a villain if you like to.
And then, of course, the gameplay matters. How the characters can team up, how they work together, their kind of associations. And then, of course, we have a very strong narrative in the game as well, an all-new narrative that we're going to continue to tell as the game goes live and continues into the future. And we look forward to really introducing new characters with this narrative, giving them context for the gameplay and so on.
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing that stands out most about Marvel Rivals compared to a lot of other 6v6 style shooters. Is like the narrative is a key part of it. People have an expectation when they come to a Marvel game, even if it's one that's like a team-based shooter or hero-based shooter or fighting game or whatever it may be. In other games, they'd be like, yeah, as long as the gameplay is good, it doesn't matter, I'll play it, it's fine. But this is like, the gameplay needs to be good and the story needs to be good, because otherwise these characters are wasted. What was the approach for the story, and how far did you build it out, and how much of it is reacting to the popularity of certain characters or ideas, that kind of stuff?
So we took a lot of inspiration over 85 years of Marvel history.
That's a lot of inspiration.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. We pick and choose with NetEase, and they're a great collaborator. And there's a lot of stuff both sides wanted to do with this story. Luckily, we have all this great character cast that we question constantly. It's like, what are they doing in this world? So we start off with the introduction of both Doctor Doom and Doctor Doom 2099, having a battle of wit and see who's the best. And they cause us a time stream entanglement, which causes new world and old world getting created or clashes. So heroes and villains has to work together or against each other to try to stop both Doctor Doom from causing further chaos. Now with that as the seed, and we can tell a lot of different stories like what happened in Isgard, where Loki is a king instead of Odin. What happened to Tokyo in 2099, where the Spider-Verse took over and protect the city. So we have all these possibilities, and we continue to push the boundary of what kind of new and fresh ideas we can tell that you have not seen in other Marvel medium.
Go ahead.
And we've got a lot of other ways that we get you immersed in the narrative and the story as well, from the world building, where you can find Easter eggs throughout the maps, where you can find elements of the story in the map that inform your gameplay, where some of the game modes are focused around the narrative beats as well. You can look forward to more of this in the future.
Yeah, for people who might not be familiar with the game, haven't played it yet, how are you actually telling this story? Because they might just be thinking, oh, how am I going to get this story if I'm just fighting people all the time?
There are lots of different ways. There's character bios, for example, that explain the context of the hero in this world, in this particular setting. There's the, as I said, the world building elements, where you see elements of the story in the world. There's the character VO lines, where the characters quip to each other and talk about the current state of things. There's some really, really fun moments hidden in there.
One of the things that really sticks out about this game is the visual style. Characters look, I mean, like when I saw them, I was like having to really look like, who is this? And it was because they visually are different silhouettes, and it seems like you're taking a lot of like risks with how they look. Can you talk about how you decided to do that and the approach for that?
Yeah, from the very beginning of the project, we work with NetEase to make sure that this game can stand on its own visually. We have a lot of Marvel games out there in the market, and since NetEase is based primarily in the East, and we want to take the Eastern art style and match it with the Western art style, and you can see this very energetic design, very very edgy. It's kind of like anime jumping out from the Marvel universe, and we want to continue having this fresh and exciting presentation. And it also helps when these heroes move very fast and showcase their power through their characters.
Yeah, I guess that was going to be my next question. For people who are familiar with a lot of Marvel characters, and they probably played a lot of games that are focused on them, and usually it's a character in a game and they make the swinging mechanic happen, or if it's a Hulk game, it's like the jumping and punching. How do you come to a game where you need to have so many different characters and they all need to feel like themselves and satisfying, and also mesh together in a way that is both interesting from a gameplay standpoint but doesn't break the game? So what are the processes in getting there?
That's a great question. It's a very complex one because, as you said, there's a lot of factors. But, I think the most important part of finding the fun, which is what we're talking about, we're talking about how these characters work together, is really iteration and getting user feedback. So as the first time you create something, it's often not very good. And you're like, okay, well, why isn't it very good? And you'll ask the players and the team, why is it not working? What's not working? You'll find the rough edges, and you'll hone them off over time by making changes and testing them again and again. So this iterative process is really key to finding the core of what's fun about this hero. Now, as you said, there's some expectations with some of the heroes. Like you expect Hulk to jump and punch. You expect Spider-Man to have webs. So there's some kind of things that just seem inherent to the characters that you need to include. But then how do you make that fun in the context of the gameplay? And that's where iteration comes in.
Is there a specific aha moment where things start to really come together when it that?
Usually, yes. There's usually a moment where you play and you go, that's it, that's the game, that's the core experience. And I love those moments. When you find that with an entire team during a play test and everybody's shouting and having fun, you've got something special.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, one of the fun example is, I just mentioned Spider-Man. It's like, how do you make Spidey sense work?
That's a good point.
In a team base. So, and we were playing around with NetEase, and then suddenly one designer say, hey, why don't he just have Spidey sense when someone is near him, which is true to what he does, like sensing danger coming. And they implemented it, and players caught on to it during the alpha test. And they appreciate such attention to details by the NetEase Games team.
Yeah.
And I mean, team-up moves as well, which are really intriguing to me, because obviously when you are playing a team-based game, you want to be in synergy with another person and execute on these moves. How did they come together? How did you decide, who's going to be teaming up with who and what those moves would look like?
Yeah, it's through the narrative as well. So when we build the world with the NetEase Games team, we figure out the maps and the characters and belongs to which world, and figure out like what their relationship is. And with that in mind, and we can begin to start crafting the synergy between characters. The synergy is usually between two or more. We just announced Venom at the State of Play, where Venom literally turned Penny Parker and Spider-Man with symbiote power. And so that's an example of a three-player synergy going on there.
What's the process like for obviously Marvel has its responsibility in making sure the characters are, look and feel true to who they are, and so, but these kind of games, they require quite rapid iteration, and a lot of times, you need to react to how a game is playing and how the community is feeling, and traditional thinking is that probably takes a long time when you're working with a license. Like, what's the workflow like between the two arms to make sure that, you're maintaining that authenticity to the source material and also the game, but also are flexible enough to make sure that what people are experiencing is enjoyable, mechanically, aligning the way it should be?
Yeah, we're all gamers at Marvel Games team. We actually encourage the NetEase Games team to go crazy, right? It doesn't matter what it is. In the beginning, just go crazy, give us everything. And then when we go too much crazy, we can dial it down instead of going upwards. We think of us like a creative team extension from the development team. We work with them daily. We have conversation daily. At the beginning, we're still getting used to the NetEase Games process of iteration. And as we get to know each other more, we tend to go a lot faster, in the sense that where we can used to be go from paper in sequence, like paper, implementation, white box, and implement. Now we can see 6 steps ahead with them, visualize what it's going to be like on paper, and then the end result is much faster in the iterations.
Right.
I think one of the first things that Danny said to me when I met him was, don't be afraid to break stuff. And as a designer, I love to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, like, NetEase is known for having a lot of experience and history in making multiplayer games. And how much of that, what did you draw from? And in terms of on the Marvel side, what did you see in NetEase that you were like, this makes them a good fit for the game that we want to make and we'll try and make?
So we have partnered with NetEase on a couple of games prior to this, and through that we learned the team culture, and they are very ambitious on a lot of design sensibilities and also feature sets, and that fits our same objective of looking for something different, fresh new ideas, and the culture just fit.
Yeah.
And from my point of view, I've spent my whole career, basically my game career, working on competitive multiplayer games. So, and we've got a great team in the U.S. that has a ton of experience in that regard as well.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say, like, how much of the kind of team is bringing new ideas to the table, or is it just like you have a set group of people that you're like, these are the people who are going to make sure that we maintain a vision? And I assume, like, people who are, when you open the doors, the wackiest ideas appear.
Well, both things are important. You've got to maintain the vision to make sure that you're all making the same game, but also great ideas come from everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a designer's job to recognize those great ideas and to get them into the game.
For sure, yeah.
When it comes to adding, so obviously you coming out of the gate with a great roster already of heroes and villains, already teasing and adding new ones in. What does that process look like, especially when it comes to things like balance?
Well, in terms of balance, that's always a tricky one. But, you know, I think our core philosophy for this is that we really care most about making a fun game and not a perfectly mathematically balanced game, right? Because you can make something perfectly mathematically balanced. All the stats average out over time and all this. But what's more important is that everybody's having fun. Nobody's feeling frustrated. And that nobody's feeling like the game is punishing them in ways that they can't counter. The best scenario is, oh, I lost, but I know what I'm going to try next time. Let me get back in there and try that out. So that's kind of the attitude we take towards it.
Yeah, at Marvel Games, we're not shy away from saying, hey, this seems under power. Like, please buff XYZ. And and we'll play with it and see what happened. And then that iteration process, sometimes we're wrong, sometimes we're right on the money. It takes a whole village to build this title. And ideas can come from anyone. We're not shy away from having like wacky ideas, which is great. A lot of stuff that you've seen in battle come from wacky idea once upon a time. And we make it proper with the team, and it was great.
You had a few like play test periods. What was it like to see people actually getting their hands on the game, and what were the kind of things that really came out of that helped you push the development into the directions you needed to be, while also ensuring that the people that are playing it are starting to see the kind of reactive nature of designing it?
So since the debut, we have a very, very strong community. On Discord, we are way over 230,000 Discord members. And seeing those positive feedback, and also negative, we love them, constructive criticism. We get a sense of what's next and what to watch out for going into the next test, or what need to be fixed immediately, and etc. Right? They are our evangelize our product without us doing heavy marketing work, because we are not at the stage of marketing this. We just want to test it and put it on people's hands to play as much as possible. So we want to thank the great Discord community for help driving this. It's a grassroots-based title, if you will, which I have not seen.
And as game developers, of course, we're extremely passionate about the game, and to see a positive response is just so satisfying. But then also to see the criticism, as Danny pointed out, is incredibly useful for us, because we take that to heart. We say, oh, okay, what is the community thinking? What are the major pain points that we're seeing, and how can we address these in a way that makes the game better?
For sure.
Well, thank you both for coming down. Just before we wrap, I wanted to ask, we saw a little glimpse of Venom and everything. What else can you tease when more playtests, etc. are happening? How can people get in?
So at the end of June, we were announced for the console player, both PlayStation 5 and Xbox XS, how to join the beta. For existing PC player, just wishlist it on Steam, and they will get notified when the time comes to request for beta test keys. And we have many, many more stuff coming between now and beta, so please watch out for it. Yes.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you both so much again. And thank you all for watching. Make sure you stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We have Blumhouse Games, and they announced so many titles at Summer Game Fest. We're going to talk about them all with Louise Blaine very shortly. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone, to GameSpot's coverage of Summer Game Fest, Key 3, Play Days, whatever it is we're calling it. I'm Lucy. It's time to get spooky, because joining Tamora and I, we've got Krista and Brian, who are the co-creators of Fear the Spotlight. And from Blumhouse Games, we have Louise, which is very fun for Tam and I, because we've known Louise for a very long time.
Also fun for me.
I hope so. From the UK game scene.
We did the thing where it was like, we know her, and everyone was like, okay.
We were sat here kind of going like proud mums with our phones out.
A lot of that Leo meme. A lot of that. It's been wonderful.
I mean, let's get started. So you came out on the Summer Game Fest stage with Jeff.
Yep.
Everyone looking incredible. And you just were like, hey, we are really doing this games thing. We are announcing multiple games that all look fantastic, incredible creators involved. Louise, like, what's your role in all of that? Like, how does it feel to kind of get these titles out in the open?
Well, I think first off, it's really exciting. I mean, we're releasing 6 games in our slate, and we wanted to show everyone at once. And I think the important thing to show everyone at once was we are not just one type of horror game. I've been a horror fan for a really, really long time across movies and games and books and everything. And as part of that, I love subgenres of horror. Yeah. And that's something that Blumhouse as movies do so well, because maybe you're going to watch a slasher, you're going to watch a folk horror, you're going to watch found footage. And that means that games can have that too. And that's really exciting. And that means that we can show different types of horror games with different approaches, with different styles, different visual styles, different mechanics and genres. And it means that someone can go, oh, while horror games are wonderful with great jump scares and a lot of gore, some people go, oh, no, that's not for me. We want to be able to say there is a horror game for you. So in that slate of 6, people might be very excited by, a murderous farming sim, and they go, yeah, I want that. So that's why Blumhouse Games, we showed our selection at this point, and obviously our first being Fear the Spotlight, and Brian and Krista being amazing for that.
I mean, when it comes to picking that slate, are you looking at specific buckets of horror, or is it literally like, I assume you got inundated with pitches and you were like, I like this idea, this idea, this idea?
Yeah, I think we're not looking for a specific, I think we're looking for creative lenses into horror. So it's not that we've not had those. I mean, playing Dredge, playing Inscription, playing Killer Frequency, all those things are taking different approaches to horror in the indie space. And we just want to tell good, scary stories. And they all do that. And there are lots and lots of people doing that. And we've got the most incredible choice of people, because the indie space is obviously the best place for that, because horror comes from very human, very passionate stories. And it's a rich, rich world of horror. Yeah,
obviously Blumhouse is a huge name in horror in the movie side things. And, when companies that are known in other mediums are like, we're going to do games, it's usually oh God, it's going to be like pulling teeth. But, I mean, what's it been like? The stories we have is like, it's like we needed to convince them that games were worth, pursuing it in this measure. But what's it been like at Blumhouse? I mean, when they announced that you were coming on board, I was like, that makes perfect sense. So clearly they have a vision here. What was it like when you got there? And
I mean, the passion for scary... Blumhouse just has a passion for scary storytelling. It's what they talk about a lot. And they see the game space as another facet to tell those stories, which is a nice natural place to go to do that. So, the team, it's a small team, but we're led by Zach Wood, who's previously worked for PlayStation, for Arcane. He's very much a games guy. So they've approached it officially from a games perspective. I think there is maybe people that are stepping into game spaces who aren't, which isn't going that way, but I think that's the way that we want to be authentic, and it's the only way that you can tell good stories through games with that knowledge. Right. Before we actually dig into a couple of the games, including yours, right now it seems like very indie focused. Blumhouse as a overall, if you have a sense for it, is there ambitions to go and build up to that bigger AAA style experience? No, we're going to stay indie. And I think the way to stay indie is indie stories can be, I think we said that we take creative risks, and indie is a really good space to do that and to be creative. That doesn't mean that every game doesn't have to sell millions of copies to be a success, because it's all a risk. And it means that, we stay in those small spaces, and that's going to be the continue. And it was how Blumhouse really started off with its movies. So we got things like Paranormal Activity, and we got Insidious, and we got The Purge, and those are not huge, blockbusters. And that's how we're approaching and going to continue to approach the game scene. It's a refreshing answer there.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, let's dig into Fear the Spotlight. Where did the idea come from?
So for us, Fear the Spotlight it's like our love letter to horror is how we thought about it. we're huge horror fans, huge indie game fans, and we have a history of being creatives from studio jobs, and we've just always wanted to make our own thing. Because when you're working at a bigger team and a bigger studio, you're serving someone else's vision. You have to align yourself with their vision. And so, at some point we realized, or we just bit the bullet and decided, like, let's give it a shot. Let's try to make our own thing. And being horror fans, we decided to put everything we love about horror into one package. And so games, movies, like, it all went in there. I don't know if you want to speak more to it. Chris is the bigger horror fan than me, to be honest. She introduced me to horror.
Yeah, a big inspiration for us for this game was to make a game for our friends and family who are like on the edge of horror. They're not quite sure if they're into horror yet, but we're such big horror fans that we want to convert them into horror fans. So we want to make something for them that they could play. Like, they might not be like the most intense gamers, or they might not be into like the jump scares. So we feel like we made an experience that hopefully when they finish it, they're like, oh, yeah, I like horror now.
Yeah, Krista, like, converted me, and now, like, the virus is spreading.
Does that.
I was going to say, in itself, a horror.
Yeah. And our game's a horror through and through. It's like, even though we think of it as, like, an approachable horror game or, like, an inviting horror game, it's real
scary.
horror.
Yeah,
it's scary.
it's still scary.
It's tense. It's atmospheric. It's got ghosts.
Like a dark story.
It's got all the things we love about horror, and that's what we want to share with people.
How difficult is that to maintain? With horror, you have those moments of respite where you sort of think everything is okay, and then you really get back into it. How, from a game perspective, what is that like to implement? Because with a movie, you've got a fixed runtime. You don't have someone potentially running around and just, I'm going to look over here and ruin scripted moments.
Yeah, that's exactly the challenge, especially in our style of horror. Like, we think of it as a ride. Like, you're going from beginning to end, and your horror stays interesting and stays tense as long as you don't know what's coming next. So there's always something new coming next. So the challenge for us as creators is making sure the player is like following along with that ride. Like, they're always getting something new. They're always being teased with the next thing. They're not doing the same thing for too long. They're always like kind of a little bit nervous about what they're going to see next and unsure about what is coming next.
Yeah. How do you draw and identify what the kind of boundaries are of what you need to be careful about not pushing too far in scaring people? Because obviously everyone is scared by different things. Like, and then how do you factor so many different things? Like, we can't have the clown, we can't have this, we can't have that. How do you build that balance where it's like you strike the right, point where you feel it's horror enough, but it also you're not inadvertently, accidentally scaring someone else through something that you didn't realize? Yeah,
I think for me, like, I think of like my 13-year-old self, like what I would have wanted to experience and play at that time. So it's like, I would have not been into like super bloody stuff, so it would be more of like the ghost and like the mystery, and so that's kind of like my barometer for like what to put in there.
Yeah, and I think it's just so personal too. Like, we're making the game for us and like our friends, like specific friends in mind, and so that's been our driving force the whole time. Like, we made this, like, when we started this game, it literally was the two of us, our own time, our own money, and just like making what we wanted to make. And when Blumhouse came into our lives, they discovered our game, and we're just excited to support that, like to support us as creatives, and let us keep doing what we wanted to do. So we're thinking a lot less about catering to every audience and just doing what feels right to us. And kind of being here this week at Summer Game Fest has been just really encouraging and validating that people are on board for that. Like, what we have to offer is interesting to people, and they're ready for that. So,
So Seance Gone Wrong, which I'm already in. I mean, like, what were you looking at for inspiration? What is your flavor of horror that led to Fear the Spotlight?
It's like so many things, like Brian said, like games and movies. I feel like we like a lot of like 90s teen horror. We like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps, but we also like things like Silent Hill and Fatal Frame and like Hereditary and all these different kinds of things, Sinister,
Yeah, it's wide-ranging. I think part of, like Luis was saying, there's so much that horror has to offer, so many emotions. You even mentioned yourself that you don't want just to clench your little butt cheeks the whole time. You want like the moments of levity, the moments like some charm, some you want the whole range of emotions during your ride. And so we're really drawing inspiration from everywhere, all the different kinds of horror movies and like non-horror movies too. Like my background was like I used to work at Naughty Dog, and I worked on like Uncharted and Last of Us. So they think a lot about like what is like the ride, right? What is the roller coaster you're going on, and how do we just keep getting the player to move forward? And seeing the team go from Uncharted to The Last of Us, they're really applying the same principles of like, how do you get big bombastic set pieces but in a dark, gritty world? It feels like Kristen and I are doing the same kind of thinking as creators. Like, how do you turn like a roller coaster ride into like a slow, tense burn, and just building suspense and building mystery the whole time? But we have the added challenge of like only having 2 people. and like,
1% of the team in the budget.
yeah. Like going, so for me, I've gone from like a 200-person team to a 2-person team, and we're like, it's a lot more fun to be able to do everything, but there's also a lot more like just problem solving.
For sure, yeah. I think it allows us to be creative because we have these limitations.
Yeah.
I think that's where horror really works too. Like we watch the Blair Witch Project, you watch these small found footage, you make choices, you make horror choices, you see less is more, and I think the longer you spend, I know, you, when you're, we work together, when you send out something over and say, what do you think of this? It must be hard in the fact that you've gone over and over again, but actually playing for the first time, of course it's scary, because, you walk along in silence and something happens, you're like, is it scary enough? Is that happening? And you're always so good with understanding that less is more that way in a lot of atmosphere. And that's one thing that we really love about Fear the Spotlight for our first release, is the fact that the vibes are immediately, from what we're getting from people playing 20 minutes, they're afraid, and they're in a known place, they're in a school library, everything's going wrong, but they're not seeing much, and that's exactly what's so exciting about it.
Yeah, when I watched the trailer, what I loved about it was like, I didn't quite understand what was going on. That kind of like, I'm putting pieces together, but I don't have the full picture yet, and there's a scariness in that as well. So for people who might not be familiar, we've kind of teased it a few times. What is the game about? Like, what do you do in it?
Hey, you want to give the story? Sure. Okay, so you play as 2 teenage girls, Vivian and Amy. You breaking into school after hours, and just like normal teenage girls, you perform a seance with a spirit board in this library, and things go terribly wrong. Your friend Amy goes missing, and things get worse. And you try to find her, you try to save her. So it is like this sort of teen story, a bit of a coming of age story, a bit of a just like tense. You're a small asthmatic girl with a monster in a school, so you gotta make your way through it. And like, part of the fun is going and exploring the school, and then there's like sort of the backdrop of a tragedy that occurred in the school a decade or two before, and so you're like unraveling this mystery and how it ties into like kind of the supernatural spooky things that are happening. And I'm just excited for people to go on for the ride.
How do you form the relationship with your playable character? And like, obviously that is the vehicle in which the player is experiencing the game. The peril is on that character as much as it is on the player. How do you keep get your player to invest in that character, not just through, wanting to keep her alive and get to the bottom of the mystery?
I think it's the relationship, her and the other character. I think that was a big driving force for us to have like a great motivation, and why we spend so much time with them setting up the relationship, because we want you to be invested in them, and we want you to be, for Vivian to save her friend.
Yeah, we worked with voice actors, which really brought these characters to life. Just amazing professionals too, because we, as 2 newbies, have no idea how to direct voice actors, so they like taught us how to direct them. But yeah, they really just brought so much charm to the characters and to the relationship, so that in the 20-minute demo that we've been showing here at Summer Game Fest, like we're seeing people fall in love with the 2 characters, and that really ends up being the driving force of like wanting to get through everything. Yeah.
In horror games, obviously, there's a push and pull between, especially in games, between feeling like you're defenseless and feeling like on the back foot, and also a level of empowerment. The trailer shows a lot of like the character running away from things, and so what's that balance like, and how do you make sure that you're not kind of disrupting the delicate balance of like the ambiance and the tone and the horror part of it by, you know, being like, here's a shotgun, enjoy. You know, what's the kind of like ratio of that, and how did you try to get it right?
So our game, you know, I'm not so academic about it. Like a lot of it's just by gut, what feels right. Like, is something lasting too long, or is it taking, you know, is it not long enough? But we do have like just a general rhythm of like puzzle solving and sneaking and like uncovering the mystery of the world and exploring this abandoned school or haunted school, or I guess you can think of it many ways. I think, well, yeah, when I was talking about like the roller coaster ride, you just kind of don't want too much of one thing at any given moment. So being able to cycle between all the different moments and have like, when things get really tense, making sure there's something sort of with a different emotion that comes next. So I think part of the fun is cycling through emotions, but having it all build towards one whole and one story and one thing that you're caring about.
The visual style is obviously quite attractive to me as someone who's been playing horror games for a really, really long time. It reminded me of the classic PS1 era days of horror, which is where I kind of cut my teeth on it. What was the kind of approach to picking that style? Is it similarly, you know, a kind of a limitation that you're working within? Because there's only two of you. You can't do like Unreal Engine graphics, you know, that kind of thing. How much of it was intentional and how much of it was like a stylistic choice?
I think it was very intentional because we also have that same nostalgia for those retro games. And then, a limitation is true too. Like you said, we're like I'm the only artist making all the assets, and everything is original. There's no like store-bought assets or anything. So I'm trying to do everything that I can, mostly because I'm greedy. But yeah, I feel like I also just like the aesthetic, and there's also horror to like simpler design, like not quite sure what you're seeing, but then if you see something in the distance, your brain fills in something even scarier than I can show you. So yeah, I think the players do more of the heavy lifting of like, oh yeah, that's freaky. I don't want to see a dark hallway, especially with our dithering and like it all adds together to the horror experience for sure for the art style.
Well, you've got people playing the demo here at Play Days. I think you haven't got a fixed release date just yet, not that we want to share or anything, but what's the next phase of game development for you two? Is it content complete? Is it polishing? Is it just fine-tuning those scares?
Yeah, we're really in the home stretch. We are releasing this year, this fall. Exact date is still pending. We're still figuring that out.
Let's say you can wish list now.
Yeah. The store pages are up. You can wish list it. But yeah, we're really finishing it up. We have, so our development story is a little bit unusual. We spent 2 years making the game by ourselves, and we thought we were finished. And we started putting it out there, and people were getting excited for it. And we were starting to get like really strong reactions to it. And that's when Blumhouse found us and approached us to help. The very open offer of like, how can we help? What can we do together? Our first thought was like, well, let's get it on consoles. Let's get it to more people. But then they offered like, well, if you had more time, what would you do with that? And so we racked our brains for a while, and especially with Luis's help, her being like a true fan of horror and understanding our game so deeply, we ended up going back to the game and adding more content to it. So what was originally like a 2 to 3 hour game has become like a 3 to 5 hour game. And so we still have like a huge chunk of content that we consider shippable, like finished content. And we've been working on cleaning that up a bit and adding the new content and the new stuff. Like, I think it's the best stuff we've made because, well, we know how to make our game now. We've done it once before, kind of. And we have it all figured out, and we're like in the home stretch of like polishing it up, making sure the tone is right and like the atmosphere. We care so much about atmosphere and pacing, and we're like so close. We know it's going to work. It's a matter of like just getting it to that finish line.
Well, before we let you go, Louise, you obviously were on stage. Number of titles. We've got to quickly go through them and talk about them, especially Project C. You know, Half Mermaid, Brandon Cronenberg. How did you keep that one quiet?
With great difficulty, I'll be honest. I can't say tremendously much, but when these two minds come together, you're getting something very dark and very twisted.
Yeah.
It's something to be very excited about.
And which is the one, which is like the dark farming sim?
That's Grave Seasons from Perfect Garbage. So when you do want, you're doing your normal things, you're farming, etc., but you just, have to solve murders at the same time and find pixelated carnage in the woods, Lucy.
I love the idea of cozy horror.
Yeah.
That is such a good...
That's dredgecore.
Yeah, exactly, dredgecore, that kind of thing. So I'm excited to see what Blumhouse has kind of coming up for us, and yeah, it must be amazing for you as well to see it coming.
It's so exciting. We're just so excited to tell people, to show people, to see who's excited about what. You've been Project C, talking about Grave Seasons. Some people are very excited with simulation, Crisol with the puppets, which are really uncanny valley terrifying. There's something really for everyone. We can't wait to scare everybody.
Well, thank you so much, all of you, for coming down. Congratulations on the reveal and the great reception to people playing it. Wish list now. If you are watching along at home, do not go anywhere. We've got Assassin's Creed Shadows coming up very soon. Welcome back to GameSpot's coverage of Summer Game Fest and Play Days here in sunny Los Angeles. I'm Lucy, and now joining Tamora and myself to talk about Assassin's Creed Shadows, we've got game director Charles. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I mean, so Assassin's Creed, you know, we heard the announcement for, as it was then, Codename Red a couple years ago, and now you're out here. The game, you know, it's going to be at Ubisoft Forward tomorrow. What's it like now that people have gotten a chance to see Assassin's Creed Red? Or Shadows, I'm sorry. I keep, in my head, I'm still calling it Red because I've called it that for 2 years.
So we released the cinematic trailer a few weeks ago, and now today we release the first gameplay trailer. So we have a lot of comment, obviously, and tomorrow we'll go a bit further with an extended gameplay walkthrough.
So this specific setting and time period is something that a lot of people have been constantly asking for, probably since Assassin's Creed 1. When did the kind of decision to go there happen, and what was the process? And also, what took so long?
That's a good question. Obviously, it's a big company, and the brand has a roadmap. So each time we are doing an Assassin's Creed, it's always looking at what has been done in the past, what we want to do in the future, what we can leverage on the past games. So it's always something we ask ourselves. Also looking at what the fan wants. So there's a lot of setting that is super interesting to do. And 4 years ago, we said, okay, now it's the time to do Assassin's Creed in Japan.
Right.
I mean, when it comes to Assassin's Creed, there have been kind of many flavors of the games over the years, you know, starting from the original games that were much smaller in scale, and then you get to things like Odyssey, Valhalla, that are these huge, expansive, and then you kind of going back to Mirage, like scaling down a little bit. Where does Shadows sit in that in terms of sheer breadth of scale?
So you can compare it to what we did in the past in Origin or Odyssey. So we're like the next RPG action adventure in the franchise. So yes.
Okay, cool. In terms of integrating the Assassin's mythology into that kind of setting, how tricky was that? I know you guys have a roadmap for that stuff. I'm sure it's planned to some degree, but it feels like the Assassin's mythos and lore has been building to the point where it feels to someone like me impossible to just make it work in so many different scenarios. So what's it been like, and what was the approach to making that happen in Shadows?
Well, I will be careful to not spoil.
Without spoiling anything, because we and also the people watching would be very upset.
But first, we with Assassin's Creed Shadow, we're really pushing the fantasy of the samurai and the shinobi first. So that's the story we're telling, with Naoe being a shinobi, Iniga and Yasuke arriving in Japan. So it's more this story that we're telling, and of course there is secret and mystery that you will learn. We already revealed that Naoe has an hidden blade, so for sure there is some lore that will be unfold and that you will understand. But I will stop there.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I was back in like Syndicate with the dual protagonists, which I really loved because you know, both of them had embodied different parts of what makes an assassin, and it's back again in Shadows. What was the process like when you were creating these two characters to lead this game?
But first of all, we wanted to have those two fantasies. So when you look at Japan, there is two striking fantasy that you can think of, the shinobi and the samurai. So it was a kind of a natural fit for us to have two characters to represent both. Not only in terms of gameplay, but also in terms of point of view on the world. They're not coming from the same social class. They're having a different perspective also on the event of unification. So that's something we wanted to tell. And something that is super important for me was how can we challenge those two pillars that we have in the brand with the combat and the stealth properly. So when you get caught in your stealth infiltration, at some point before you can just go and fight, but now you need to think a bit more like taking the risk of fighting or maybe going back in stealth. So that was interesting for us too.
What about how you kind of structure the game world and how the gameplay kind of changes? Because obviously there's always been a verticality to Assassin's Creed, but the emphasis on that has like shifted back and forth depending on time period, because of the buildings and who the assassin is and that kind of stuff. It feels like this is a game where between shinobi and samurai, that verticality is more important than anything else. So what was the process to going back to or enhancing that element of it, and then also making sure that your character is able to utilize that in a way that's satisfying?
But if you look at the architecture in Japan, yes, there is some verticality, especially in the castle town. But the house are mostly one stage. And the philosophy we have, it's Naoe as a shinobi, she's safer on the rooftop. So with her new grappling hook, she can really go super fast to go from where she wants to the objective. And Naoe and Yasuke on the other side need to follow more the roads, and he still can climb, but he doesn't have the agility.
What's it been like so you start making this game 4 years ago, and you come up with an idea of, having Japan, Yasuke, a shinobi character, and that kind of like foreigner coming into this new land. And then you reach now when your game is finally out there, and then on Netflix there's Blue-Eyed Samurai, there's Yasuke, there's Shogun and it seems like this happens a lot in game development where everyone seems to come up with the same thing and put it out there. What was it like for you to see that happen, and then what was the reaction from the team to be like, oh, everyone's doing something similar now?
Yeah, no, that's always funny. When you start something, it takes so long to have the final product. Even in terms of gameplay, you think you have this super unique idea, and sometimes you see it somewhere else. But what is super interesting for us, seeing all those different media coming and be on the market and see the interest of people on feudal Japan, it's something great for us. Also, we know that there is an interest and still growing, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
When it comes to, I mean, obviously, the core of Assassin's Creed games is assassinating these key figures. How are you switching things up in Shadows? Because typically, I mean, Assassin's Creed games across the years have tried lots of different things, like the black box missions and even like the mercenaries who are coming after you, and you've got to take them out. So what's new in Shadows?
So yes, like you said, assassination is kind of, I think, the funniest thing to do, like finding the target, hunting the target, and finally when you get the target, the infiltration of it, it's pretty cool. It's kind of the core of the game to find those targets. We split it in multiple kind of side stories. So there is the main target that I won't say why you're hunting them, but after that, in the world, you can hunt them in any order. So it pushes you on different provinces. We explore the world in different way. And with our dynamic system, it makes each target a bit unique. So you can hunt one in winter that I did in summer. So it's always a bit different.
So how else is seasons going to change the game? Because you've got the seasons.
Yes, the season, we use it in two ways. So sometime at the beginning, we switch the season just to emphasize the passage of time, so it's easier for the player to understand what happened. But once the open world is like open, we put it on a clock. So as the day pass, we kind of register how much you played, and we switch season, so you can see the world changing as you play.
How would you kind of describe, or is there any kind of like uniqueness to the combat between, because we saw the trailer during the Xbox press conference, and there's a moment where you see like Naoe like running around, and Yasuke, I think there's a scene, unless I imagined it, where he like front kicks a dude right through a bunch of stuff. And so from my mind it looks like, oh, one's a brute style, like heavy enforcement style, whereas the other one's like the sneaky stuff. Is that a fair assessment? And like what kind of is the push and pull between that to make sure that people have the freedom to pick what they want to do, but also are doing enough of each to experience it and see the intricacies of it?
There is a bit more subtlety than that. For sure, Yasuke, given his stature and his strength and the weapon we give, he's a lot more like brute force combat character. But the combat is really weapon-based. So each character have their own weapon. They don't share weapon. And each weapon have their own skill tree, so you can progress as you want with the weapon you prefer. And during fight, you can always have two weapons and switch between both. And they have different strengths and weaknesses, so it's like you choose what's the best at the moment you're fighting.
So the story of the two characters, can I just play the whole game as Naoe, or am I kind of going between the two? Like, you know, Jacob and Evie, you had specific missions, but like open world stuff you could pick to be one or two. What's the balance like in this game?
So we start first with the player having to play an introduction of Naoe and Yasuke. So you have to learn a bit what the character are, who they are, and where they're coming from. So it's more interesting afterward. And once they are allied, because something will make them
pull them
work
together.
Yeah, exactly. After that, you can switch when you want, except for sure if you fight or you are in the red zone. So you can do the most of the game with one character, the one you prefer. Both have also a personal story that fit with Naoe or Yasuke. So if you want extra content with them, it's specific content about them. And some quests, when it makes sense, we force some character, but most of the content you can choose.
One of the things that always fascinates me is how games set in Japan approach language. And Shogun, for example, is a series where they're speaking, is it Dutch?
Portuguese.
Portuguese, but in the world, but to us, we hear it as English. What's the kind of approach for this game, given that you have a Japanese character and you also have a character who's presumably speaking a different language? What was the kind of creative decision making, and also like the kind of the realities of how you want the player to experience it and not have that roadblock?
Well, but we approach it more like the other AC, where everything that is important gameplay-wise, it's in the language you want. We support many language, and if you want like the more authentic feeling, you will you can switch to Japanese language. Of course, the environment will speak Japanese when it's not gameplay critical, and we have some shift like the Portuguese were there at the beginning, so we put them like they speak Portuguese just to understand that differentiation with Portuguese and Japanese.
Okay, gotcha.
I was going to ask, is there going to be a Japanese equivalent to Requiescat in Pache?
Yeah.
Which is the iconic, Ezio phrase.
That's a good question. I want to know that too.
That's a good question, but if I answer, I will a bit spoil what is the story of
You'll get a hidden blade in the back.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Because I will stop there.
No, you can tell us after we're not live. I mean, one question I had. So, I mean, in Valhalla, you had this the village, and you would bring characters to it, and then over time it would upgrade and stuff. Is there any kind of equivalent, like an assassin's hideout or something, like a kind of a home base, or is the whole game just going to be traversal, exploring in Japan?
So yeah, the hideout, how we called it, it's kind of your base. So you're building a league. So once Naoe and Yasuke allied, they go after like pretty bad guys, and they need people to help them. So you can build your hideout. It's tied to your progression. You can also see your friends there, but we're pushing it way more with the customization. We have other beats that will explain more what you can do, but I can tell that it's not something we did before.
Interesting.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. What's the kind of scale of the game beyond kind of the area that we've seen? Because we've had different approaches to it, as Lucy mentioned, and a big part of these new RPG experiences is the land outside of the the core cities and that kind of stuff. Japan is like really interesting in that respect, but also there's the potential to just kind of have large stretches of nothing. So how do you approach that? Is it a case of you're sticking to like the breadth, or is it you're focusing on depth this time?
It's always a balance, the map we chose, it's to have the main beat of the story we want to tell. So we're telling a story around Oda Nobunaga and the unification. So we have the key place where he has been. So like Kyoto, Osaka, and those places. And one thing to really represent Japan, when we went to Japan and we look at the big mountains and the space between the different villages, and also the size of those castle towns that are super big, we changed the scale ratio to make sure that the footprint is really there and you feel immersed. So it's always to find this balance of exploration and authenticity in your world.
Right.
Obviously, Assassin's Creed in the past has touched on the fantastical myths and legends, and obviously there's incredible folklore and their own myths and legends out of Japan. Are we going to get to experience any of that? Is it going to get into that most spiritualist realm, or is it a very grounded story?
So we chose the grounded approach. We felt that shinobi and samurai are kind of mythical just by them, by their fantasy. If you think about those movies, they are heroes, they are special, there is mystery around them. So we keep it grounded for now. I cannot say for the future. Of course, in Quest we approach some legend and things like that without crossing the line of what's real and what's not real.
I'd love to know what kind of, we talked about this earlier, like a lot of stuff happening in the same kind of thematic and genre. What did you look to for inspiration? You mentioned going to Japan, so obviously the country itself is the biggest inspiration, but in terms of taking that, interpreting it into a video game, a different medium, what did you look to try and make sure that you're authentic, but also you have unique ideas that helps distinguish it from everyone else?
But for sure, we always start with what is real, what is historical. So on day one, we have an historian with us that help to pinpoint what's interesting about Japan, and it kind of tie to the story we want to tell. We have a lot of experts also that help us to validate everything we found. We have a team also in Japan, in Tokyo and Osaka, that help us to validate, to go further and make sure that we're historic and authentic, but at the same time we're still doing like an historical fiction. So we're taking what's best.
Are we going to be hearing anything more about, because Shadows is going to be part of Assassin's Creed Infinity? Are we going to be hearing any more about how that's all going to fit together and work soon?
Yeah, Infinity is the code name of something.
Of something.
that will be more talk in the future. So it's the first beat of Infinity. So it's something that will grow over time. So we're starting with a starting point with Assassin's Creed Shadow, and each opus will evolve. But that's what I can tell for now.
Right. A core part of these kind of games is the characters, and more recently there's been some room for the players to define how the characters behave and the personalities they have. You know, picking dialogue choices as Cassandra or whoever it may be. What is the approach for this game, where you kind of have historical figures in a, you know, in a more well-known way? People have defined kind of understandings of these, a character like Yasuke, for example. What's the degree of freedom you're providing, if any, for the player to define or redefine that character?
So we still have a choice for role-playing with Naoe and Yasuke, and a choice that will affect some part of the story also. What's great with Yasuke, it's we know few things about him. So we know his past, we know where he meet Oda and like he's raised in the society. But afterward, we don't have much information, so we can fill the blank, and it's pretty great for the role-playing choice. One thing that I really like with the role-playing with two characters, often they are at the same place, and you can bounce like the choice. You can choose, should I answer with Yasuke or with Naoe? So that's an interesting way to approach that.
Definitely, yeah. That's really interesting. A kind of follow-up with that is, like, in doing that, how cognizant are you of, it's going to sound weird, but like a lot of people learn their history from these games. Like, that's been a core part of the Assassin's Creed franchise, to the point where, you know, Ubisoft has leaned into it and put out basically like libraries of information on it. How cognizant are you of the fact that you are kind of fictionalizing the history of a character, but also there's kind of a small element of a responsibility that, you know, someone might see something here and think that it's a real thing, so we need to be careful?
Yeah, but I would say the main historical event that we feature in our game are what happened. So if you leave the unification of Japan, I will prevent myself to say too much about that. But the thing for sure, it's key beats of historical things. We're pretty on par with what happened, and we have our story that intertwined with real history. So I would say it will feel. How can I say that? It will feel more your own story and the story of Assassin compared to just the historicity. But also we have the codex element, so each time we have something really historic, we have all registered in the menu that you can read afterward and learn what's real and what's not about our game and our choice.
Awesome. I'm excited to do that. I've spent way too much time reading those codex, so yeah, exciting.
Well, Charles, thank you so much for joining us. Obviously, the game will be at Ubisoft Forward tomorrow. Is there anything you can tease?
But I can tease, if you like what you saw today with the game trailer, we're showing more, and it's pretty exciting for us to show that.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you.
And make sure you don't go anywhere. We've got more great games from Summer Game Fest and Playdays coming right up.
Why, hello there. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kurt Davina, and welcome to GameSpot's GS Live Show. I'm joined by a very special guest, someone who is super cool, talking about a super cool game, working for a bunch of cool folk, and their name is...
Hi, I'm Vida. I am working at Remedy Entertainment on Alan Wake 2. I was like, what's happening?
What is your role?
Oh, I'm the senior community manager, and I'm great to be here.
I'm great to be here.
I'm so great to be here.
You had a big announcement?
Yes.
And I have a bone to pick.
All right, let's go.
Yes.
What's the bone?
You did it. You chose to release it while I'm here in LA working.
Yeah. Can I swear?
Can we swear? Is that a thing? Okay. Bleep your swear.
Tough shit.
Ah, there you go. What a bleep. I said, yeah, it's fine. Okay, well, you know what?
But no, thank you for the kind words. That's very kind.
Sure, absolutely. I'm not like, upset or, aggravated at the fact that I have to sit here and work or talk to somebody really cool about something I'm excited to play. It's fine. I'll get back. It'll be a nice little treat. I'll pour a cup of coffee on my lap.
If it helps, everyone else has aired the same grievance to me. Everyone else who's at Summer Game Fest this week has said, why did you release it now when I'm here and I can't play it?
And did you say the same thing you said to me?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant.
Because I'm great at my job.
As the community cool cat,
Mm-hmm.
the senior community
Manager.
There
we go. We got that.
There we go. Thank you so much. You so the thing you do dev streams.
Yes.
So you're the one who hosts and spearheads, sitting down with the wonderful folk at Remedy and talk about all the cool, wonderful things to do, all the weird jazz. What is it like being sort of the person who gets to make sure the faces and the personalities beyond the usual suspects actually get to be seen and talk about their work?
That's a really good question. No one's ever asked me
I just
that.
pulled it out of thin air.
It's great, honestly. It's fun because the reason that we do those streams, twitch.tv/remedygames and youtube.com/remedygames, by the way. Thank you. Please like and subscribe. Yeah, the reason we do those streams is because we want to showcase devs that are not often in the spotlight, that are not often on these couches, on these press junkets, if you will, doing these things. And we have so many talented devs at our studio who do so many cool things. And we just want to, first of all, we want to open that up to the wider public, and we want to open that up to our community because we like being a little bit more transparent about how game dev works. So yeah, it's really fun, and I think everyone we picked is great, obviously, because otherwise we wouldn't have picked them.
Except for that one person.
Who's that?
Vida.
Yeah.
Yourself.
No, she's awful, but she mostly shuts up. Yeah, no, it's been really great, and the streams have been really good because we've had a chance to really take a deep dive into things like level design, combat design, gameplay design, and just showcase how Alan Wake 2 has grown over the years, over the course of development. From I think the oldest stuff that we've shown was from maybe 2019, and then all the way to 2023.
And speaking to actually showing things and being transparent and being you're, as I'm one of them, so I can't hide it, but the fandom behind these games, and particularly Alan Wake 2, I don't know if it's just because I'm watching it and I'm in it and I'm a part of it and I love it, but what is it, what do you think it is about Alan Wake 2 specifically that seems to have had a deep-seated impact on people clinging on to characters not just the usual Alan or even Tim Breaker, but Rose and everyone else, and I don't know, like what is going on? Like what is that? Why do you think that is? And do you think you saw that with Control?
I think I did see that with Control, but I think I see it more with Alan Wake 2 because those characters have been around for much longer than Control, and Control was a new IP when it came out in 2019. But the reason that people latch onto Remedy games and the Remedy deep lore so much, I think, is because we put a lot of breadcrumbs for people to follow, and we open up a lot of questions that we don't necessarily answer because I don't know what the hell that Stephen King quote is, but like the
Who knows any Stephen King quote? Come on.
I've never read any Stephen King. Please drag me online for that, and I will probably never do it. People like unanswered questions because people like solving mysteries. People like doing their little cork board with the red string and stuff. And I think that the Remedy games lend themselves to that very well because our creative director and our writing team love that stuff.
I also think it's really fascinating that could you say that you anticipated that certain characters in Alan Wake 2 would like be latched onto so much that the DLC would feature one of those characters? Oh, I'm sorry,
That's all right. It's the Night Springs expansion. Everyone says DLC because of the SEO.
I'm not SEO. My brain, it's just I've been beaten into submission to say it.
That's fine. I understand.
The
But
expansion.
Yeah. Did I anticipate it would be those characters?
Yeah, I mean, or I guess should I say like did Remedy have the foresight to understand that these characters were going to like have sort of an impact on people in such a way that you're like, this is where we're going to focus it?
I don't think so. Like, it wasn't premeditated that we were like, this is going to be the waitress and we are going to make her...
The waitress.
The waitress. We are going to write her in such a way that she will be the fan favorite because I don't think that is the modus operandi of the studio. We just write. When I say we, that sounds weird because I'm not writing anything, but they just write they just write what they feel works for the story, right? And I think just because all of the characters in Bright Falls and also some of them in The Dark Place are like very quirky and strange, it just, again, people latch onto that stuff, and the weirdness resonates with them because all of us who play games are weirdos in one way or another. So
you mentioned breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
And I feel like with those lore sickos out there who are trying to find something in anything.
Shout out to Mark Delaney. Hi, Mark.
Mark is he sees a literal crumb on like the ground outside of a diner.
And he just laps it up.
And it's just like, this clearly means something. Yeah, he gets down and he sniffs it and he licks it up. Mark Delaney, by the way, is a GameSpot employee. He's not just some random man we're talking about. He was the one who reviewed Alan Wake 2, and I've never met somebody who was like, Jesse Faden's collar was down in this scene, so therefore it must mean this, and that she's an echo of that. And it's just like,
I have, because I read what the community is writing, and Mark is quite similar to a lot of our folks. But yeah, no, it's lovely. It's lovely. I think it's fun. But yeah, sorry, what was the question?
I didn't have one.
Okay.
But while we're on the topic, I wanted to confirm a fan theory by, I wonder if you could do this for me.
Let's go.
Some people believe that these two are the same person.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, anyways, you have a physical coming out. Which is actually coming. Is it coming out this year in October?
Yeah. October, yes. The pre-orders are currently open for the Alan Wake 2 physical, deluxe and collector's edition, and you can get them via limited run, and they're very pretty, and you can get your like life-size working angel lamp. Lamp. Is that how you say it?
Lamp. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from upstate New York, Rochester, New York. All right, I can't help it how I say lamp. To you, this is also like just in time for the year anniversary as well. And then also there's the next expansion.
Yes.
As well, which you can't.
I can't.
Sure you can't.
It's called the Lake House. That's all that's happening. That's all I know.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it won't be like it won't be what other character. Come on, you get to.
I'm not going to tell you that, Kurt.
A rubber duck.
Maybe.
Chew on it. You'll be able to figure something out.
On the rubber duck?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. The new Alan Wake DLC is where you chew on a rubber duck. I mean, considering how willing Remedy is to do anything, I have this thing where I feel like Remedy has like since Control, like kind of found like the balance of like the weirdness and the house weird is like a way I feel like I can like call it, and then Alan Wake has like pushed that to the nth degree, and now the expansion, which I've not played, so I have no idea actually how weird it is.
You will. It's
Yeah,
weird.
I will. Like, at what point where you're like, already it feels like Alan Wake has left nothing on the table. Like, I did not believe that Alan Wake 2 like caught anything. I can't imagine what could have not made it in that game, considering all the ridiculous things that are in there. But now I'm starting to assume like, I see this. I just don't know what else, how weirder you can get.
I think what I really like about Remedy, what I really like about our house style, which, by the way, thanks for recognizing that, because there definitely is a house style, and it definitely did. I feel like we really came into our own with Alan Wake 2. But what I like about Remedy is that we are when it comes to creative direction and creative development, we are a very yes-and studio, and we're a very sort of collaborative, cooperative studio. Like, there's not a person at the top who's like, this is what it needs to be, and this is what it's gonna be, like A to Z. It's like, this is what I want. What do you guys think? Kind of thing. And I think because we have, again, a lot of weird people with a lot of similar ideas working, that it's worked out. But as to can we get weirder? Yes, there is always room for more weirdness, and I think that is what not to like toot our own horn, but I think that is what the industry needs overall. Yes. We need, where's the camera? We need weird games. Make weird games, play weird games.
That resonated in my soul.
I know.
So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Speaking of collaboration,
yeah.
I also noticed that this expansion, which is 3 episodes of Night Springs, 2 of them are done by, or written, the lead writer was Clay Murphy. And it's like, and then the initial game was done with both Sam and Clay and a few other writers, I assume. And it's really good to be able to see something that is so, seems like Sam Lake's is so iconic to that work. And it's really, really, really nice to be able to see like those things flexed by other creatives and other things, which is why I think like the stuff like the dev streams you do is so fantastic, because like we get to see other people. But I just wanted like, what is like, do you know about the process in which like, all right, Clay, let it rip, like?
Kind of, yes. So I think, yeah, Clay and Sam are the co-writers on Alan Wake 2, and I think this is the first time that Sam has had like a consistent co-writing partner. And from my chats to Clay and Sam, because I am incurably curious, and I'll always be like, hey, so tell me, how does it work? How right? From my chats with them, it sounds like it's like very collaborative. It's very, they bounce off each other really well, and they vibe on the same frequency. And how they do it is, when it was time to write the screenplays and really knuckle down, they would close themselves into a room, and there was a whiteboard facing the outside of the room saying, hey, please don't come in unless it's very urgent. We are working on the screenplays. You need these screenplays to finish the game. And I think that the reason that they work really well as writing partners is respect, and they have fun together. And I think that fun is really, really visible in the Night Springs expansion, because there are so many jokes, Kurt, and they are so good.
Oh my God.
You'll get to play it.
In 48 hours.
In 48 hours. There we go.
Maybe a little less than that. Also, like, I kind of going back to the community part of it too. What is the particular thing that the community does best, or that like that you feel like kind of has like that you're most proud of when you're communicating with your audience and like able to like engage with your audience?
That's another great question. I cannot pick a favorite child. I can't pick like something that they do best, because I love them all so much. But I will say that they are very welcoming, and they are very kind. And it is like, you hear horror stories about community management, you hear horror stories about social media management. Some communities are worse than others. And that was kind of my fear when I first came into this job, like, oh, what's the community gonna be like? But I think we've been very, very lucky with the folks who like Remedy Games, because they're all just nice. So I think that is what I'm proudest of, that we have managed to cultivate and grow and keep up a healthy and welcoming and open and very queer community. Happy Pride Month.
Do you think it's the I was actually going to lead into that. Do you think I think it's the weirdness.
I also think it's the weirdness, yeah.
I think it's the pure ability to be like, there's something about being weird that is also like being vulnerable because it's like not like the norm.
The norm, exactly.
It's
yeah.
not normal. It's weird. So therefore, when you have weird, you are inherently encouraging people to engage with something that normally would be like, I can't. That's too funky for me. And like, there's been this like, especially during Pride Month, the seeing like how certain users have like, and I say this in a very good way, like co-opted like the sort of like way they look at characters, the way they identify with characters, regardless of whether or not regardless of how they are perceived in the games, like whether it's stated like that. And it's just, I don't know, it's beautiful.
I think it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. And there are so many different ways. I mean, shipping and assigning certain identities to fictional characters has always been a crucial part of fandom, but it's just been so nice to see it in the Alan Wake 2 and in the Remedy community, like the fun that people have and the way that they see themselves in those characters by making them queerer, by making them not cis, and so on and so forth. Like, it's just, it's really nice. That's all I have to say.
Okay, now, this next segment. I always noticed that, Remedy's known for, I feel like, its names, like the names of its characters. Like you have your Tim Breaker, which is a big old wink and nod to maybe a little Time Breaker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you have Alan Wake, which in of itself is just such a great name. It rhymes with lake. It's not a lake.
Does.
It's not a lake though. It's an ocean.
It's an ocean.
So I wanted to pitch you some ideas I think you should try out.
Okay.
For the next name. So you've heard of Max Payne, but have you heard of John Hurt?
Yeah, that's an actor.
What, really?
Yeah, John Hurt. I'm so sorry, I should be yes-anding.
Okay,
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, all right. You have Jesse Fade in, but have you heard of Jesse Fade out?
Okay, this is great. I have an anecdote, a really quick anecdote.
Let it rip.
When we were developing Control, the death screen, the very early death screen for Control when you got killed said Jesse faded.
Oh.
I know, and to this day, I am heartbroken that didn't stay in.
Make a mod. Get to work. All right, this is the last one.
Okay, I think this is going to be the winner.
I think you've had Sean Ashmore.
Okay.
How about Sean Ashless?
No, I think this is the winner. Let's go.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. You can have it. And bring it back and put in a little envelope and when you do expansion, you do Night Springs episode 4, and you can continue on the story that I don't know is yet. I've given you all these ideas, and you can just have them.
I think there might be some legal trouble, but I'll have my people call your people, and I think we'll sort it out. I think we can make Sean Ashless happen.
I'll have them call my cat.
Yeah, she can handle it.
I know. She's my secretary. She's great. She never answers calls, and she knows that I want to be left alone because I'm playing the Alan Wake 2 expansion.
I think personal assistant might work better, depending what she prefers.
Beautiful woman. Is what I call my cat. Shout out to Megatron. I just want to say that I'm a huge Alan Wake 2 fan.
Me too.
And it's been yeah, you are? Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're like two peas in a pod.
Sorry to interrupt you. Please keep going.
I don't care. And it's been really amazing to also kind of maybe to watch Alan Wake 2 be awarded for or at least be nominated for so much. And I imagine it's what is the feeling for the team on being acknowledged, but maybe there were so many good games last year, and I just kind of want to how does the team react to being nominated for so many things? They've won a lot of things, the art awards and all that jazz. That's it.
Well, the team reacts to the nominations by saying, oh, so another one that we're going to lose to Baldur's Gate 3. But so much love to Larian, and congrats on them winning the Nebula for Best Game Writing. Love Baldur's Gate 3. But no, I think it is not about the awards at the end of the day. It's about seeing the players enjoy the game that you've made. The awards are like a nice cherry on top, and it's always lovely to be recognized with nominations or with awards, especially by your peers. But I think where the most important recognition lies is with the community and with the players. But also, we are thinking about getting a second trophy cabinet because it's kind of, there's no more room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
To be fair, it's a very small trophy cabinet, but yeah, we need another one.
You had mentioned earlier a little bit about being able to show. We have talked about it a lot, but I'm just excited about the idea of being able to show people who are like beyond the usual suspects of doing this. What is a consideration going forward? Like, how are the dev streams going? Like, you know, are we doing more? Is there more in the slate? Are we going to continue them to talk about Night Springs?
There is more in the slate. It's coming, I think the next one, this is an exclusive info.
Here we go.
GameSpot exclusive. I think the next one might be August. Don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's August. There are still some more disciplines that we want to cover, and we'll see how we go. I think what we're going to do is we're going to circle back and see how we go and see how people are reacting to the streams that we've already done and see what they like, what they don't like, and what more topics we can talk about.
What is your favorite Night Springs episode?
It's number one fan.
And that is that the first? Can you play? Are they playable?
They are playable in any order.
Okay, really? All right. But number one fan?
Yeah.
Okay, come on, tell me. I need to know why.
Because you play as the waitress, who is like similar to Rose Marigold, but she's more of an archetype of that character. And because I like being a cute girl with a gun covered in blood and shooting dudes. But also because it's pink, and pink's my favorite color, and because
The whole thing has the pink aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like the whole, it's glows.
Yeah, it was
pink.
very fun for our environmentalists, and somewhat frustrating for other ones because they were like, do we really need to make this so pink? And our lead environment artist was like, yes, we do. And because I just like seeing someone who is a waitress, so a working class woman, someone working in the service industry, being a hero and, you know, wielding a massive shotgun. And also the humor in number one fan is like laugh out loud funny.
The diners, it's also diners.
There's also diners. Yeah, that's just the one diner, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the very nature and love of diners, and like, I mean, it's not that I love Alan Wake because there's a diner.
I will say you do get to do fun stuff in the diner that I think you will like.
Oh boy. Yeah. This just can't get any worse for me, and better at the same time. What do you like? I think it was very surprising that Night Springs was just like, bam, have it tomorrow. It was like the real class. I mean, it wasn't quite like, you can play it right now. When you're like building up, like especially for you who are like paying attention and like are trying to watch people who are like going to be engaging with this thing, what is that feeling or like the sort of thing you have to anticipate? Like, have you ever been in a situation where you're like, and we're announcing it and it's like appearing and like, here we go.
I know that there was a question somewhere in there.
It was a statement.
Like, obviously a part of my job is watching what people are saying on the internet and what all of the theories are, and I think it's very fun when some of those theories or some of those like the wackiest ideas align with what we have going on in the game and in what we're making. And I think that some of that stuff, I'm not gonna obviously say which, but some of that stuff is in Night Springs.
Well, I have to just wait a little longer to play it. But in the meantime, Vita, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
To all the wonderful people who are watching, we are GameSpot. This is GS Live. And now that we've talked about Alan Wake, it's time to Alan sleep. Greetings and salutations. My voice just cracked like a boy going through puberty, but that's because I've been sitting here chatting with dev after dev after dev all weekend here because it's SGF 2024. But you're watching GS Live, and I am here, joined by a special guest, Alex.
Hello.
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 Hi.
Who is here? Hi.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
You know,
It's, you know,
just hanging out.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Yeah.
We're talking. We're here to talk about a game called Hyper Light Breaker.
Yeah.
Which is the sequel, or is it the sequel? Are you, no, it's just Is it the Hyper Light universe?
It's the Hyper Light universe.
Is that the first time that you've ever officially said that?
No.
Okay.
I've said it a few times. Not to you specifically.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm really honored
to other people
to finally have had that moment.
Yeah.
The Hyper Light universe.
It.
And we're here in this in the grandma's basement.
Yeah. It's cool. It's nice.
What's your favorite part?
I'd live here. I like this this creepy next gen magazine. This is cool. The PS2 graphics looks scary, and I don't know. I really like Will Smith plate over there. That's pretty good. Will Smith plate, hard to beat.
Would you ever consider putting any of those in the next Hyper Light universe?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave now.
Okay.
I'm really excited to talk to you. Hyper Light Drifter is a game that I feel like came out at like a very specific time. It was 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
wild times.
I have it written down 8 years ago.
That was a while ago.
I know.
Stop reminding me.
But I mean, you've had what? You've had a couple games come out since.
Yeah, we've got one.
The
game come out.
It's Solar Ash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your 3 games. You have 10. It's not that long ago.
Yeah,
It's something in between.
It's like it's time.
I know.
Time's bad.
Time is time after time.
Nobody likes time.
How would I feel like the first one came out at this like very kind of pinnacle moment, like this cusp of a certain type of game. Like not that like a style or like a focus on smaller devs and indie devs who are like honing in on specific mechanics in a way. And I feel like now we're 8 years later, and Hyper Light Breaker feels like that times 1,000. Like, I mean, it's no longer 2D.
No.
It's 3D.
Yeah.
How would you wrap it up? Like, how are you describing Hyper Light Breaker?
Like a sales pitch.
Yeah.
Like the elevator pitch.
Yeah. But like, why don't you do the grandma's basement pitch?
What is the difference between a sales pitch and a grandma's pitch?
You don't have to. You could be a little bit more
old.
How would you tell your grandma?
I'd say, hey, Granny, I like your teeth today. Buy this video game for your grandparents or grandparents. Granny's got grandparents too, you know. Might be in the grave, but it's fine. You can buy things for people, no matter what their state of living. I'd say.
You wouldn't describe the game?
I would describe the game, and I'd say it's a video game where you shoot things, you slash at things, and your kids will love it.
Yeah,
you know?
that definitely.
The kids will all love it.
That definitely feels like the most approachable way.
Get in with the kids, you know.
Yeah,
that's how you do it with the grannies.
Next time I'll call my grandma and be like, hey, can you get this thing?
Get this game. Your kids will, your grandchildren will love you forever if you buy this.
Shoot stuff.
Yeah.
Slash stuff.
You'd pet a cat, I guess.
Yeah. Wait, can you pet a cat in the game?
I'll just tell the grandma that.
Okay. All right.
She's not gonna know.
Okay. So all right. But now you've set expectations.
I'm sorry.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
But I did see you. That was a great pitch.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
You're welcome. But the one thing, I got to see you talk at a Day of the Devs event at the MoMA in San Francisco during GDC.
Yeah.
And there was one particular, so from what I saw, it's a big 3D game.
It's big old
big 3D game where there's like a hub world. It's a roguelite.
Yeah. It's got like roguelike-y elements to
Okay.
it. There's builds and things you lose and gain.
Okay.
And meta progression.
Okay.
And death is happening all the time to you.
I know. You should pitch that to Granny too.
Hey, Granny.
You know.
This video game is about dying a lot. You probably will like it.
You mentioned something during that talk when you kind of had this like allegory about like that genre, like the rogue genre specifically, is like the most unique. It's the only thing. It's like the only genre, the only specific thing that can really only exist in video games.
Yeah.
Like that bespoke nature of like games, like the experience that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, was that always a conscious thing when you wanted to move into making this one specifically?
Yeah, I've been a big fan of the genre forever and ever, and it was very much like like indie thing for so long, and still is really like as far as genre goes. And for me, making games, like obviously want to do stuff that I really like to play, stuff that I would like to play, stuff that people like me would like to play, so that I can, you know, invest in it in some way. And as far as media goes, right, it's you can't really replicate some of these experiences in any other medium.
Right.
So I would like to tap into those experiences and not just try and make a movie but video game. I want to make experience that is game for game people that like to play game.
Yeah.
That's my other pitch to Grandma.
Okay.
Yeah.
To make game for other
to make
game, for other game.
Yeah.
For
game
you.
not movie. Gameplay.
Game not book.
Not book.
Although as I always find it like there'll be a time and point when we don't have to like think about comparing games to other mediums, but I do.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. Yeah. But it was one of the things that I actually appreciated, that it was a focus that's like I feel like we're still kind of like still struggling with the idea of like, want to make a game that feels like a movie.
I don't like that concept. I think it's boring. And we have movies, and those are great. And why are we still embarrassed about video games? It's very strange to me, because games are the greatest medium ever fucking created. So, like, please let me enjoy this and say, like, I make video games. I'm very proud of that, not afraid or shy of it. Like, I have to gussy it up with a movie or movie star or something like that. Just, it's weird to me.
As a smaller studio, like, is there like a sort of mantra or like thing that you try to instill when you're like trying to make it, when you are making a game, you know, these things, and you have that sort of idea?
Sure.
Yeah.
Always sell to Grandma.
Always sell. Always sell.
Always be selling to Grandma.
Yes.
Yeah.
A B T G.
A B T G. That's
Yeah,
what.
that's
That's
the new
written on the
one.
whiteboard.
Yeah.
On every whiteboard. In the
You come in and someone's like, I want to add a wolf with a sword.
Is Grandma gonna like that?
It's great. Yeah.
That's
is
the
Grandma
first
gonna like
question.
that? Is Grandma gonna like that?
Everyone knows.
Do they have to call their own grandma, or do they call?
No. There's one Grandma consultant that we go to.
Does she have an office?
No.
So you go and seek her out.
She has a house with a pad just like this.
Are we in it?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
She might be upstairs.
Where's Grandma?
Not
Where's
coming down
Hyper
here.
Like Grandma?
Yeah, it's a secret. No, it's like a mantra about like how we produce and think about our games.
Yeah. I feel like with all three games that you've done, there's like this very games. The magical thing about the medium is that.
You look like you're going to sleep.
I know. I'm just writing. I'm writing a hyper light wave.
Okay.
The magical thing about the medium is. It's like, you know, there's this mechanical part of it, and I feel like your games are pretty, you know, like they're like actual mechanical focus, like the actual like beat to beat moment when you're actually playing them, and then you allow like the world itself to like kind of feel like be a story and a vibe and like a thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that we have like a specific mantra. I think the closest I could get, and it's very silly and kind of just a joke, but like make it as anime as fuck as you can. You know?
Really? Okay.
But like that's what that really actually means. When you, I think, dig a little deeper, is not just the look of it, but the feel of it. You know, anime is like very visceral. There's like a great impact to it. There's an efficiency to it. You know, it's unlike a lot of other things before it as a medium. And obviously, more and more stuff started to like copy that, and anime has become mainstream. But there's a flavor to it, and again, it really embraces what it is. You know, at its heart, and you can tell, and that's great. And it has no shame about that either, which I really like about anime in general, but also just animation is really great.
Yeah.
And you see how it's evolved over time. So there's a similarity to, I think, how people who make animation, specifically anime, how they think about impact and interaction with their audience for their medium, and how I think we try and think about our games and how they communicate and what they're using from the tools that we have to provide the players.
I'm not like, it's not that I'm surprised by that. It's just that your games have such a specific like look, visual look, art direction to them, that don't inherently like, I wouldn't necessarily pin like that anime is the thing. It's like, but for what I understand, it like it feels like it's like the power that is usually like displayed, that usually is often most like portrayed in anime.
I mean, style, like visually, there's a language there to some extent, but also that art style is very much coming from like me originally, and then all the other incredible artists at the studio. And so, you know, I just try to make sure that it's recognizable, so that if people see a game, they're like, that's a Heart Machine game.
Yep.
And trying to be unique about it. So it's not like, let's clone an anime. It's like, there's inspiration to be had all over the place, including, you know, from other games, including from other mediums, and that's great. And pull from those, every artist does, but, you know, trying to keep something refreshing and interesting and, again, recognizable is really important to me as a studio head to like carry on our games, build that brand recognition, baby.
Yeah. We'll be selling to grandma. That's our brand.
Got to be selling to grandma every day. No, but just like I was saying, if somebody sees the trailer or screenshots, like that's the Heart Machine game. That's always the goal. So
Don't you also edit the trailer, like the most recent trailer? Yeah, it was like,
well, the Breaker one actually was done by a very lovely studio that we work with, but we had another announcement for our other game, Possessors, and I still do pretty much all of our trailers. So,
has that always been like? I mean, like, did you like you have? Does that come from like just knowing your vision, or does that? Okay, yeah.
I just like I know what I want to do with it. I know what the game is intended to be, and trailers are like one of the few opportunities you have to really land an idea inside of somebody's head, you know, to like really capture the attention of somebody that otherwise might not see it. That's your best shot. It's like screenshots are great, sure, you know, like talking about something's great, word of mouth, but ultimately that trailer can hit really hard in really good ways, and so I want to just make sure it's exactly to our standards, you know.
You, speaking of vision, was it always intent? Like, was your intent always to be like, I want to make another Hyper-like game?
At some point, I didn't want to. Right after we made Drifter, and I was done with that series for a while. I was like, I don't know. I didn't say never, but it's like I got to take a break. I'm good. I don't want to think about it. But then over the years, it became more clear. Like, yeah, there's something to do here. You know, it wasn't that long. I was like a year after it released, and I was like, you know,
you sat in a room, you sat in a corner.
Yeah, sat in the corner.
Yeah.
No, I had experimented with like a roguelike formula with the original like Drifter engine stuff in Game Maker after like a year after we released. It's like 2017, 2018, and that's kind of what this was born of. It's like, yeah, I want to do something more with this world. I've had a break from it for a bit, and now I can get back to it and invest in it in some way.
And was it always like a conscious thing to be like, I'm gonna make it a big old 3D game?
Yeah, I like 3D games. I like making 3D games. I like 2D games. I like making those too.
You made one of those, yeah.
Yeah. But the impact of 3D is pretty immense, and like being able to like lose yourself in that world and express something. I think that comes through differently in 3D that you can't really quite get in 2D. They all have their advantages, pros and cons, but for me, at least for what this game is, and what we're trying to do with it, that scale was really important.
I saw you play your own game.
Yeah, which one?
The Hyperlight Breaker.
Okay.
Not Hyperlight Parker or Drifter
We're
or
bringing
anything
that
else.
bit in here. We got it. You got it in. You snuck it in.
You know, Drifter is like Hyperlight Driver. That's the one we're talking about.
Driver.
Yeah, you
what
heard that here
cars
first. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you park cars.
Yeah, you park
Hyperlight Driver.
Parker,
you played your own game, and it was Hyperlight Breaker that you played, and you a big pitch to Grandma was dying.
Yeah.
And you died playing your own game.
That happens.
Was that so you didn't do that on purpose?
Did not do it on purpose. I mean, listen, it's very hard to play a game and also talk to an audience at the same time. I don't know how a lot of streamers do it.
I was sitting here on the couch playing a game during a demo, and I just had like the horrible gamer face the entire time, and I didn't have to worry about talking. So
trying to be like conscious about what you're saying and be on in some way, and focus on playing like not a dork. Difficult. So
cool.
I probably died on accident.
I mean, but like I think that's still really telling that you missed, you know, the developer.
Sure.
Why was like, what is there a sort of approach to being like, oh, my game needs to be hard?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, you can have difficulty is a difficult subject.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
No, my attitude towards difficulty is I want things to be a challenge, but also it's good to have variability there and accessibility as a core part of it. So as long as you can alter some parameters that might not work for people, great. But overall, I think you can still maintain a challenge. And the games that I truly love oftentimes are challenging, so I trend towards that just because I find a lot of value in overcoming difficulty in certain games. That's not to say that I always trend towards that or like to play that all the time, but I don't know. For our games, it makes a lot of sense for the worlds that we're trying to build, especially when we're talking about some of the more serious aspects of the human experience and illness and things like that.
Is that like the direction you're going? Like it's like I don't know if I really understand. Like if I was able to hear that much about that side of it.
And with Breaker, it's less so. It's more about the multiplayer stuff. It's more about like the gameplay aspects of it. But there is a lot of story in there that still filters through, and it's that world is built on many of those personal stories from Drifter back in the day. So it doesn't become divorced from it. It's just like less about some of that stuff. So
how are you telling that story in Breaker?
Still got panels.
Panels,
baby.
Panels. More panels.
More panels.
It's just more panels.
That's the other pitch to grandma.
Yeah, the other pitch.
We got
it's
panels.
like you have your whiteboard, always be selling the grandma.
Yeah.
Brand.
Panels.
Yeah. So somebody's like, I want to put a sword in the game. And you'd be like, you gotta check this off with grandma.
Gotta check it.
Is there a panel?
Yeah. Okay. Now there is. Grandma said cool.
Yeah, cool.
A+.
Put a panel on it.
Yeah, we do a lot of visual storytelling still in Breaker.
Okay.
And it's important that we kind of continue that tradition with this title. There's text in the game, but not like dialogue text or anything like that.
There's Breaker feels like such a fine, like there's so, I find that there was a lot of things going on in that game. You have your roguelike elements, and you have these big open worlds, and you have this hub, and you have these bosses, and you have zucchinis, and you got pasta, and you got a salad, you got a cat you can pet, you got a salad, you're eating your salad. That's a
lot of ingredients.
I know. When I pitched this game, I'm gonna say it's like a salad.
Okay, yeah. You pitched it. Who did you pitch it to? An investor?
Not yet.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
gonna
go home. And
Okay.
I'm gonna look at my cat and be like,
put that in.
I got a salad for you.
Okay.
This is it. How do you balance the salad? You got
vinegar and olive oil.
That's it.
Yeah. You want to tie it together. Yeah. I mean, that's not like a bad analogy, I guess. Like it is a lot of different elements. It's open world. It's multiplayer. It's got story stuff. It's action adventure. It's roguelike-y. It's run based. There's many things going on. Yes, but you got to find those aspects that tie it together, like the through lines.
The croutons.
The croutons. No, the croutons. No, the analogy was the dressing, right?
Right.
That's the thing that pulls it all together. So I don't know. Our dressing would be the action. The progression and action of it, like you discovering that world and understanding it better each time you move through it, because that's, I think, ultimately what more run-based and like roguelike-y games end up being, is about that sort of build-up of knowledge and sort of expansion of like what you can piece together and how far you can get. So not too different here. Like you keep going through it, these elements tie together through the action and through that progression.
As when the game is the accessibility or approachability, you can have the dressing on the side. You can add.
You could add ketchup if you want.
Oh God! Don't be. I'm
not into the ketchup.
I'm turning that off.
Okay.
In the accessibility, no ketchup.
No, you got to turn it on. It's on all the time. No, yeah. There's many analogies we can keep going through.
Like cars.
Like salad. You got another one?
Tying your shoes.
No, I don't know where to go with that.
I mean, there's effort, and you have to learn to tie your shoes. Like it's something that's now seems so natural to us.
That sounds smart.
And there's multiple ways in which you can tie a shoe.
Yeah,
you got like the over the finger loop through.
Yeah.
And then you could do the individual bunny ears and do that.
What do the bunny ears represent?
I always viewed, and this is not a dig against people who tie their shoes with bunny ears, but I always felt like the more playful and sort of easier approach. But I don't know if it's as effective as like over the finger.
I feel like when you say it's not this and you announce it, it is actually that. So it is a dig at the bunny ears people.
I'm trying
as a person with bunny ears,
do you do bunny ears?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I do the around the finger, and I'm not. It's not a dig to you. I think it's like you found your pragmatic way. It's the same way as approachability, right? I can tie your shoes.
No.
I feel that's even
Please do.
More patronizing.
No, I don't.
Thankfully,
I don't think anybody's tied my shoes since I was a tiny little tyke. So, I don't think I'd want anybody to tie my shoes.
No,
I'd rather go Velcro.
Hyperlight shoe tire.
This is going nowhere. This analogy. I don't know. Out of the shoe one, we got to get off the shoes.
Okay, off the shoes. But I was gonna say, when I saw the game, it's like there's just not one way. You go through these worlds, and you can like skate, and you can glide.
Sure.
Yes.
You can.
Sure.
Yeah.
But when we talk about death and challenge and all that jazz, that's what I was kind of referring to with the salad. Like, how do you balance, so many different elements between being a roguelike, being like sort of this like this far-reaching world. We have scenarios of games that are hard in big open environments, in which if you're not feeling like you can take on something, you can roam around and deal with something else.
Yeah.
What is your approach to when you're trying to you have these very specific things that you're trying to do and make sure that the player's getting through it?
I mean, it's a complicated web of actions that you have to sort of filter down and simplify for the sake of design. This game is definitely not simple, but ultimately, I think you hit on a good aspect there of allowing players to try and focus on some other things. So they're not always just barreling towards the one thing, and they have different options. Like, to me, that's kind of the point of trying to make this open world and make it different than a more traditional room by room roguelike, is offering some of that choice and space and distilling down what an open world can feel like into this structure.
Well, it's going. I might be wrong, but is this entering early access?
Yeah.
Yeah. When?
Soon.
Soon.
Not that long.
Before
the end of the year.
Do you know? Can you not yet?
I'm not going to tell you.
You don't have to.
I don't have.
I'll find out eventually
when it becomes official. No, it's later in the.
But it is. There's a possibility. Early access this year.
The early access is this year.
Okay.
It's not very far from here.
All right, as in down the street.
It's actually down the block.
Okay, wow, perfect.
You gotta come to LA to play it.
Is that where you're located?
We're in LA.
Oh well, see, the more you know.
Yeah.
It is really quite close.
Yeah.
Anyways, Alex, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. And Grandma's pad.
I know, thank you. Grandma approved. So.
Grandma's pretty cool.
I would say so.
She got some dope shit in it.
I know, this couch. And then she allowed us to put whatever we wanted on the shelves. Although most of the stuff is hers.
Yeah.
The Will Smith plate.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I know.
Definitely. Okay. It's good salad talk.
It's good salad talk. Thank you so much for watching us. I'm Curran Davina. This is Alex Preston.
Yeah.
And what did we say what your position was? Hyperlight Breaker?
No.
What is it?
It's the director. Game director.
Game director.
Yeah, that's the one.
It was so great. It was awesome.
It's good to have me here and
all
of us.
Good to have you here.
I felt like a mutual interview.
Really?
No.
Okay. This is you're actually the last one.
Great.
GS Live.
I can go to sleep.
I know. We're gonna bust on out of here. But we're still gonna have plenty of SGF coverage coming because there's still a day of play days and still many things, many interviews, and all of the stuff that we will be producing and which you can consume here at GameSpot. See ya.